Hello and welcome to Don't Tell Me, episode 232. Right?
Correct.
Wow, of the Random
You know, one of
Nintendo
these times we're gonna say it in unison because you never tell me you're gonna lead, so we're just gonna be like in perfect unison. Hello and welcome.
It's more fun this way. But yeah, I'm Angel.
I'm Jason.
I'm Kevin.
And today we have an episode called something that Jason came up with, and you could tell he came up with it.
Sure. Okay, so we're calling this episode, it's not my finest, but we're calling this episode Mochas and MOBAs because
there
we're
he goes with that Wii stuff again.
We as Ram Nintendo as a unified collective. Fine. The brand of Ram Nintendo is calling this episode Mochas and MOBAs as we collectively as three are going to be discussing two new Pokemon games, Pokemon Cafe Mix and Pokemon Unite. The first being impressions and the Mocha side of things, and the second being our take on the news of Pokemon not only getting its own MOBA, but also the fan reaction and the involvement of Tencent in the production. And outside of that, we also got impressions of Ninjala and Smash Bros. Ultimate's Min Min DLC, a revisit of Luigi's Mansion 3, especially in light of some recent comments from the game's original the game's producer, who's now going on to produce Paper Mario and the Origami King. He's been saying some interesting things in interviews that kind of explain a lot, and reports that Nintendo's cooling down on their mobile plans and maybe kind of pumping the brakes on that a little. So, yeah, I guess so much this is free to play. I could say this is cheesy, but I'm going to do it. So I guess like any good free to play game, we're going to start with the stuff that's free, Cafe Mix and Ninjala Unite, and then move towards the more premium stuff with Smash and Luigi's Mansion. So if there's anything you want to hear in particular, timestamps at random.com or in the video under this, or under this video on YouTube. But yeah, besides that,
that's also how you start at a buffet. You start with the free stuff, and then like if you want the premium stuff,
that's true.
That's afterwards.
It's true. Maybe this episode really is a tribute to our fallen comrades.
Wait, there's free
the
stuff
buffet.
in a buffet? Oh, wait.
Well, there's like the
stuff...
premium. Like, think of Sizzler.
Wait, so you're saying there's stuff in a buffet that you have to pay an additional amount to get?
Think of
Sizzler.
There's
like upcharges for like other things.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Or straight up Sizzler, where like you go, you get your buffet, but then you order your main course. You have, because I've been there with you in college.
It's to Sizzler? No, we went. Yeah, we went to Olive Garden. We didn't go to Sizzler.
Nope, we went to Sizzler. I will find the check-in on Foursquare and show you.
I'm pretty sure I wasn't there though, because I definitely haven't been to a Sizzler.
I thought Foursquare was done with.
It sort of is still around now. It's called Swarm, and I still check in. I have like 10 years of check-in history. It's kind of ridiculous, but kind of cool.
So what's Foursquare then?
Foursquare is basically Yelp Junior, and Swarm is where they get data to see what people like in different places, and then use to make the recommendations in Foursquare. They're data mining me, and I'm letting them. I'm actively data mining myself for them by checking in.
Okay.
Yep. That's my life I live. But yeah, let's just jump right into it before I go down this rabbit hole of how I just give up all my data at everyone.
Yeah, never went to Sizzler. First time I had lobster was at Disneyland.
What?
First time I had lobster was at Disneyland. The lobster nachos.
They are very good. What did anyone question?
First time I ever had lobster was at Red Lobster.
The first time I ever had... Oh, I'm good at... God, this doesn't... I'm not going to say it because it sounds like I'm bragging. Never mind. I had to think about it and I realized the first time I had lobster was in Bergen, Norway, in a giant castle. So... Now it's awkward. Anyway. Yeah, so anyway, let's just jump into the game. We're talking about food anyway, so maybe we just go straight to Pokemon Cafe Mix and start there. I think I'm the only one that's played it, though, right? Of the three of us?
Yeah,
correct.
Not something that really caught my attention. It'd probably be very unfair for the game for me to talk about it.
That's fair, but the reason I want to start with it specifically is because I feel like there's been a sort of like multi-episode story arc forming here. When it was first announced in that episode of the Ramtail podcast, I said it looked shallow, and I would probably end up liking it. Then in our last Quarantine Chronicles, I was like, okay, so I have played it and I do like it. So now, to bring the trilogy to a close, here's why I like it and what it's about and everything. So it really is sort of a classic case of like, don't judge a book by its cover, I think. Because although I guess in this case, actually, no, I take that back. You should also judge it by its cover because it's a very charming, adorable looking game. Like before I even get into the gameplay, like I just want to kind of commend the art style because it does really stand out against other Pokemon releases in a way that few of the spin-offs do.
I guess I could speak to that. It does look very, very pretty. Really love how it's not quite toony, but it just feels different. It's nice. It feels like they actually put a lot of effort into just redesigning the Pokemon to fit this more cutesy but not simplified art style.
And it's really like the aesthetic is very representative of the game in general because the whole game just has this kind of wholesome vibe to it. Like the basic premise is you're opening up a Pokemon cafe. It's you, another human, and a bunch of Pokemon who serve as your staff and customers. And different Pokemon will come in to place orders for food or drink. And the game progresses as new Pokemon introduce new elements as you make them their dishes. In other words, new puzzle mechanics from new Pokemon. So the dishes themselves are all Pokemon themed, be it, something simple like an Eevee latte design to a Doug Trio sandwich. It's all very charming. It's actually, they all look really good. And one kind of cool thing they're doing is in August in Japan, you'll be able to go to the real life Pokemon cafe and order all the menu items from the game in real life, which if coronavirus wasn't a thing, I would totally want to do. Like they have like pancakes that are like a short stack with little Eevee ears. I'm kind of curious what those ears are made of. Like how do they have the? Regardless, we'll link to the in the blog post there's up, so we'll link to an article that has pictures of the food if you're curious. But the point is, as you make these dishes, some of your Pokemon customers offer to start working for you because they love your cafe so much. Because again, totally wholesome here. No one's asking to be paid. They just want to join the team because they like your food and they want to make it too. And then when they join your team, they get little adorable hats, and it's great. But yeah, adding to your roster does one of two things. It lets you use them for the puzzles, and it helps to expand your cafe. Which, again, just to really hammer the point that this game is charming, your little Parisian-style cafe, like, when you expand it, it's more of a visual thing. It just means there's more areas for your Pokemon to go sit and eat, and then you can scroll around and just look at them happily eating at their tables, and they're all like bopping their heads and smiling, and like this is a game where Snubbull smiles. I don't know if the 21-year history of Snubbull, if I've ever seen a happy Snubbull, but they figured out a way in this game to make him happy. So
pretty sure I've seen a Snubbull smile, but I don't want to. I'm pretty sure it's in the Pokemonomy because it feels like I have that image in my head for some reason.
Well, this is one where you don't have to. He smiles by his own choice, opposed to you like poking him with a stylus.
I guess. Him? I don't know.
Yeah, poking him with a
choice.
Stylus. I know. I'm just saying Snubble's happy, and I never see Snubbull happy. But anyway, I keep going on these tangents about the wholesomeness. The point is, I already sort of touched on it, but let's talk about the gameplay. That's really what impressions are about. So to back up for a sec before I get into the Pokemon abilities, just probably talk about the very basics. As it was shown in the Pokemon Presents, this is very much like a different sort of puzzle game. There's no grid with blocks or locked directions as you slide. Instead, the game has you use the touchscreen and only the touchscreen. So if you decide to play on Switch like I did versus mobile, TV mode does not work. Only touchscreen. But anyway, you basically have this pile of Pokemon face blocks on the screen and you need to connect them with your finger. And my concern watching the initial trailer, which I think I said last episode, was you could just sort of wave your finger around and get maximum combos, and it's easy and it's pointless. The thing is that doesn't actually help you as much as you think, because the game's not about clearing the board of the Pokemon directly. It's actually about clearing the board of certain ingredients like sugar cubes or chestnuts or whipped cream, and the more of which you clear and the more you progress through the game, the more of which you then unlock, and there's more variety and more new obstacles and that sort of thing. And they tweak the core mechanic with each new ingredient, or as the game calls them, rather unironically, gimmicks, which seems like kind of a weirdly like transparent way of describing it. But yeah, so there's these gimmicks or ingredients, and there are sometimes other things you have to do too, like you might need to get a max combo of Pokemon blocks, or a high score you have to hit. But it ultimately always comes down to the ingredients have to be cleared off the board, the gimmicks have to be removed, and you only have a set number of moves to do that and complete the other tasks like the high score, the combo chain number, or whatever it is. So as such, actually requires you to be a little strategic about how you go about linking together your Pokemon. Like just on the ingredient gimmick side, there's different things to be mindful of. For example, sugar cubes, they're stationary. They require Pokemon links to in some way touch them 3 times before they disappear, while whipped cream also requires 3 touches of a Pokemon link, so you just need to like link adjacent to it basically. But they will move around as you move around the Pokemon. They're not stationary, so you have to be a bit more strategic about how you draw your links and where they go, and make sure the whipped cream doesn't like get looped out or looped in or whatever. And then there's other ones like chestnuts, which are solely dependent on using the very special skills that your Pokemon employees have. So that's kind of the other layer of the game, is there's this cafe skill system, and every Pokemon you bring on as a staffer can be assigned as your partner for a particular recipe, and then that allows you to use their special ability to help clear more of the board. For example, Charmander, he can shoot fire, and that will melt sugar cubes in 1 hit instead of 3, like that sort of thing. And some of the ingredients...
Can you interview these Pokemon and like look at their resume and reject them? And...
sadly not. I mean,
so,
the
like,
game's
their
too
wage,
wholesome.
do you have to pay them? Is there like a...
You do not pay them. They're doing it out of the goodness of their hearts because they enjoy your product.
So is
That's
this like a
exploitation.
Is this a volunteer service thing?
I don't know exactly.
Like when you give the Pokemon their Mochas, do you get like Poke currency from them, or
you get friendship? You get friendship. You get friendship stars, and when you get enough friendship stars per Pokemon, that's when they will then say, "I want to work for you." And then you give them their hat, which is probably their payment. They wear it. They look adorable,
it's like
and then they make you
slavery,
things.
but with extra steps.
It's like brainwashing. It's like Stockholm syndrome of the poor Pokemon.
It sounds like you're drugging them, and then when you like give them enough, like they just want to work
I mean,
for you.
if you ever call drugging someone giving them friendship stars, then sure, maybe. But and you do, and the problem is you do, to your point, you do need to definitely drug as many of the Pokemon as you can, because what I was trying to say is different ingredients require different things, right? So the chestnuts, for example, they can only be cleared with a Pokemon's skill. And then later on, different, specific ingredients require different skills from different Pokemon. So you do, if you want to take the not wholesome approach here, you do need to drug as many Pokemon as possible and get them into your like cafe, like work harem, for lack of a better term. And then that's how you win the game.
Work harem.
But I much prefer the theory that they're doing it out of the goodness of their hearts, and they just love the food, and they, like they have a group of, I can't remember which Pokemon it is, but they're like a construction crew, and they come in and they all get their food, and then one of them's like, I want to work for you, and it's great.
The
but anyway,
Conkeldurs? Timbers?
No, yes,
Girders?
I actually don't remember the one. I was gonna say the guys that look like little fighter people, but I don't think it's them either.
Fighter people? I mean, is it
Fighter
holding a
people.
giant log?
No.
Huh.
No.
I wonder which one it is.
Or maybe it was. I don't remember. I was so captivated by everything else that I completely ignored which Pokemon it was. All I know is Snubble's happy, and there's no Bidoof as far as I can tell, which is disappointing. Yeah. But anyway, so you get the Pokemon, you get their skills. Yeah, is there? Is a good question. I don't remember seeing one.
Well, they have
so I guess Angel will not be downloading it.
Well,
But yeah,
yeah.
Right. You'll somehow download it even less. You will go to the server and install an extra copy on the central server. That's what you'll do. But yeah, so the skill system. So these skills, of course, they're not just willy-nilly. There's a meter you have to fill. You fill that by completing links, and then that's when you can use the skill. So, like, as I'm describing it, probably sounds like a lot, but ultimately, like, it is a pretty relaxing, kind of chill game. The flow of it's basically you go into a recipe, you link some Pokemon blocks, and then you use those links to either A, clear ingredients out, and or B, build up and use your cafe skills to get what you can't clear out any other way. And that's basically it. So it's simple, but it's also deeper than you'd expect, while still kind of having the intuitiveness of what looked like the drag your finger aimlessly sort of surface level look of the gameplay. Like, there's more to it, but it still feels as like natural. You just kind of move things around as you need to. There's just a little logic to it. Plus, should you need help on any given puzzles, the game offers a few different items that let you clear entire rows or columns, or the closest thing it has to rows or columns, whether or not it's Pokemon or ingredients or what. Which kind of brings us to the last part, which is the monetization. So the game does give out those items for free, in limited quantities, but they're also one of the things you can buy. And this is a free-to-play game after all, so that means there is stuff you have to buy. I feel like it's not too intrusive, though. The items you can buy aren't necessarily key to win. They can help you if you're stuck, but you don't need them. They just clear things. They save you a move, essentially. This aspect of it is probably the heart system, which, like so many other free-to-plays, they're what let you play the puzzles. So if you can run out of hearts, and then you can't do any more puzzles. If it's a new puzzle, if it's retrying one you failed, that's the end of the puzzles until you either wait for the time to respawn or pay up. And this game's currency is acorns, which can be earned slowly in game or bought in bulk. But I haven't found it to be too problematic for the game to stop, since for me at least, this game is best played in small bursts, like a few recipes here, a few recipes there. And luckily, the things you think they would monetize, like recruiting new Pokemon staff, does not require payment. Everyone you encounter in-game is earned by making them repeat recipes and getting those friendship stars. When you reach a certain number of stars, they join you. The one exception to this is there are a separate set of Pokemon, it looks like, that aren't part of the main story that you can just kind of get. Like, there's a special Pikachu if you buy an item pack that comes in with whatever ability, but they don't actually lock down any of the progress behind pay, like a paywall. So that's good. And again, it's, they're extra characters and not the regular cast, so you don't really feel obligated to buy them. So, obviously any sort of microtransactions suck some of the life out of a game, but I feel like the overall charm of Cafe Mix, along with the fact that like the puzzles do have some depth to them beyond just scribbling your finger around, makes up for it. And I think if you enjoy puzzle games and want something a little different, I'd recommend checking it out. I'm enjoying it. It's free, so no harm, no foul if you try it. And if nothing else, you'll swoon at the little Pokemon hats. So, that's worth it. That's probably worth a couple 100 megs of a download on your Switch.
So you're saying this isn't going to replace Pokemon Puzzle League anytime soon?
I don't think it's going to replace Pokemon Puzzle League. It kind of has more of a vibe of
but what will, honestly?
Nothing.
Exactly.
Absolutely nothing. And it is like a looser connection to Pokemon. Like they're there, but they could have easily made this about any characters. While Puzzle League, granted, could also be anything, but they did a good job of integrating the gym progression system into Puzzle League. So, yeah, this is its own little beast. It's kind of more in the vein of Trozy, I think, at least in terms of look and feel. Not in terms of gameplay, but yeah. So that is Pokemon Cafe Mix.
Wow.
The same week that arrived, however, we also got the long overdue Ninjala, or Ninjala, as the announcer seems to call it. And this is a game we first saw like 2 years ago, and only now is it out. And it's kind of the same as what we saw 2 years ago. Like, Angel, you and I played it together with some friends earlier in the week. What'd you make of it?
I can't believe it's been that long, honestly.
Since it came out or since we played it?
Since we played it.
It's been like 3 days.
No, like first played it.
Oh, yeah. Like it's been 72 hours, dude. Yeah, no, you're right. It it was E3 2018.
Yeah, so alright, so I have a few things to say about this game. Like, first, it will take some time to get used to it. Even if like you do end up loving it or hating it, like regardless, you're not gonna get it right away. Like, it definitely takes a couple matches to even figure out not only how to play, like even after doing the tutorial, like it felt like, oh man, there's a couple good options here. But after playing a couple rounds with friends, you kind of figure out which weapon is the best, because I got to try them each separately, and also just you only really have to press one button. But essentially, the objective of each match is to get the most points. At first, I thought that would mean, all right, maybe go after the other players, because they would obviously be worth more points than taking out the robot drones. But no, turns out the best strategy is just to go after the robot drones, as the video in the beginning tells you to. So, it wasn't lying.
Yeah, none of us did that right.
But the thing is, like, so after the first game, like, I didn't do that. I was just going after people. I kept dying. It takes for attacks are, I'm guessing, intentionally very slow. And getting hit by attacks just feels like an eternity, because it just takes you out of the game for so long, and then you die, and then you have to respawn, and then you're back in. So after that first game, I literally just spent the other 3 games just running around, ignoring them and avoiding them, and just going after the robot drones. And it was like the easiest 3 wins I ever could have.
Wait, that's how you beat us?
Yeah, just by not playing with you guys.
Just not using the mechanics of the game and using the other like not doing any of the combat mechanics.
Well, I was using the combat mechanics against the robot drones instead of you guys.
Right.
And the only times like I ever had to fight anyone was where that was pretty much just running around in a big circle. Occasionally, one of you guys would take the fight to the path, or one of you guys would become a straggler, and I would see you guys running up behind me, and then I would just like quickly turn around and like attack you because you wouldn't see it coming, and then just continue on my path. And that ended up doing it big. So essentially, I guess kind of like a ninja, it does achieve doing that. Avoid combat at all costs, unless you really have to, and just go for the prize, and that's all you really need. But I mean, for me, like, the combat still felt stilted. Like, it didn't quite feel right years ago when we played it. It felt a little better in the tutorial, but still not quite right. And even after getting my hands on it for a little while longer, like, it just didn't click with me. It definitely feels like it has the potential to be really good. Maybe if I stuck with it for a couple more weeks. But, in this day and age when time is very valuable, you kind of do have to make the executive decision almost on the first day. But yeah. So unfortunately for me, like, I'm probably not going to play it anymore. But it has its charm. It still feels like it has more to grow. You could tell it wasn't always intended to be a mobile free-to-play game, but it is what it is.
Technically, it's still not a mobile one; it's only on Switch. But yes, it is very much
a mobile
like
style free-to-play game.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. But I was gonna say that I kind of feel the same way. Like, honestly, I think Ninjala has some really interesting gameplay ideas that have potential if they refine them a bit. Like the joke, of course, is, it's a knockoff of Splatoon. And aesthetically, yeah, it is similar. But like on the gameplay side, to your point, if you're running, doing Jones or battling, it is different. It's more of a close combat brawler, if anything. Although if you choose to fight opponents versus drones seems to be where we diverge in terms of who is successful in the game. But like there's times when you're doing like these kind of combo move things and you're suspended in air and you're kind of doing it. It's almost like a kid-friendly Devil May Cry kind of thing, which is kind of cool for those moments. But the one thing I think was kind of like a missed opportunity was the gun mechanic they have. Like, it is interesting, but I kind of wish they did more because I remember in the E3 demo when we played it, you could blow a bubble as big as you like and have it at any time. And then you could trap an opponent in it and walk away on them while they're in there. But sort of. And you can also use it to make bigger weapons, right? And it's sort of still there, but both of those features are kind of more restricted now. You can only upgrade to a bigger weapon once your meter's filled a certain amount, and then the bubble just kind of randomly gets bigger at that one time when they tell you it's now going to get bigger. And you can use the gum to attack people, but it's now almost like a projectile sticky bomb versus something where like someone could run into your bubble and get stuck up against you. Like you could just hold the bubble out and they get stuck and I have to like launch it. So it is a little different. It feels like they kind of stepped it back from the more weird gameplay it was before to almost kind of just reskinning the idea of like a secondary weapon and upgrading weapons on the fly, which sure, I guess. I kind of preferred the more loose feel of the original. It felt a little more like unique. But it does on some level make sense that they wanted to kind of go the route of the more competitive. Because like, the thing that I found kind of interesting about this game is it has a weird like dichotomy where it certainly has shades of a more competitive type game like Splatoon. Like you're leveling up, you're equipping and upgrading weapons in 3 different classes, I think. That sort of thing. But then on the flip side, like the go hunt the drones thing you're talking about and some of the stuff they do throughout that, it almost has more of a Mario Kart vibe at times with so many elements of chance at play. Like if you want to base the match rankings on points, that's fine. But to throw in like a bonus, like Mario Party bonus star thing at the end where it's like, oh, who hit the most drones and who got the most Epons, which is basically their comboed KOs. Like that seems to sort of undercut the competitive side in a way. Because they're angling the competitive, like, get better weapons, upgrade them, like, do this, level up, and then go fight. But actually, you'll get bonuses if you don't fight. And it's just like, well, which is it? It seems a little like they're kind of at odds with one another, to me. But I think what might be the most egregious of it all, at least in my opinion, is this parrying system that they have. It's basically rock, paper, scissors, right?
Yeah. Which,
sure, like, some competitive games have it, a variant of. Even Pokken does it in a way. But this one just feels kind of off. Like, it literally boils down to if you hit left or... Like, you'll go and you'll face someone. And I don't know what determines you're parrying now versus you're not. But you go and you hit someone. And left, right will beat up. Down will beat left, right. And up will beat down. And if you both pick the same direction, these are just control stick swings. So you both pick up, you just tie and have to do it again. And you could sit there for a while and just keep doing it. And the fact that it's like this simple of a rock, paper, scissor mechanic, yet so obtuse in how it's like presented to player with no explanation of why is it happening right now, which one beats which. I had to go on Google to find that out. There's no deeper strategy involved besides I'm just going to hit the right stick and hope they hit the down, I guess. Like, it just leaves so much up to chance. I'm kind of like, well, is this competitive? If it's really just pure luck at the end of who happens to hit the stick in the right direction. So that's kind of my qualms with it. But I think that the worst part, actually, is the game never explains anything. I mean, you sort of touched on it, Angel, but there's so much simple stuff that's left out when you start playing. It's all just like a confusing hodgepodge. They don't explain that parrying system. They don't bother to make a way to easily hop online with friends right when you boot up the game. Instead, you have to like make a room and have a 16-digit room ID and share that with your friends, even though it is connected to your Nintendo account and it can see your friends because it's on the Switch. And then when you do go through all that motion of making the ID in the room, you don't even get like a loading icon when you input the code. You just wait and suddenly the screen switches. You have no idea if it froze. You have no
feels
idea
like the game is frozen, and those loading times are pretty abysmal.
Long. And then there's other weird stuff like they made in-game videos.
Like as you said, like it'd be better if you had an indication that it was loading. But most of the time, it just feels like, why can't I move it? And then you accidentally press B, thinking that you want to back out, but then it turns out it was just loading, and then you back out again. So then I have to go back into the menu and just wait again. So it's not great.
Speaking of pressing B, another weird thing, all the in-game videos load through the Switch's web browser. So the game dumps you in an in-game web browser to watch a video. Then when the video ends, the video just stops.
Yeah, and then it says like return.
So you have to hit B. Yes, you like inexplicably hit B like 3 times just to get to the next screen. Which, by the way, usually A is the confirmation thing, not B. But because you're backing out to go forward, so it's really like doesn't make sense. And obviously, these are all things they can fix, and I'm sure they will. But when you have 2 million downloads already, which is an impressive feat, like props to the Ninjala team for achieving that. that 2 million in like a week. That's cool. But when you have so many downloads and the game is this unclear and this like confusing, you're going to lose your future audience. Like telling people press ZR to attack and yet never mentioning parrying in the tutorial or going into details about how special moves work or anything like that. Like the confusion that's going to come out of that is going to turn people off. Even if the core dichotomy of competitive versus luck didn't already, where they're kind of at odds with one another. And I think, Angel, you nailed it when you're like, it didn't click with you and you don't have the time to keep going. Like there was an article, I think it was Go Nintendo, the other day, and he Rami Cowboy.
For a second, I thought you said Nintendo. When you said Go Nintendo, I processed it as a random Nintendo, and I'm like, there's a little site. It's like, oh wow.
Yeah, there's this little site, Random Nintendo. I don't know if anyone's heard of it, but no, there's on Go Nintendo. Rami Cowboy did an article about like what it takes for a game to click with you, like how long do you go before you give up, and he was saying that Ninjala hasn't clicked with him yet, and I was sitting there reading it like, yeah, I feel exactly the same. Like I played online with you guys as a 4-person match, a couple of those. I did some online 8-player matches last night, and there's just like so much random weirdness going on. There's no real in-game feedback or guide or anything that like. Not only hasn't it clicked with me, but I don't know how it can click with me because I still, like, I guess if I go spend hours researching online, but, like, who of those 2 million people are going to do that, really? So they kind of, like, hurt themselves a little. Like, ultimately, I guess what I'm saying is I feel like what's holding Ninjala back is that the developers focused on what they want Ninjala to be in the future, not what it needs to be right now. Like, the lack of onboarding within the game, the lack of simple loading indicators. Is that a quote you heard
from a superhero movie?
No, that's me being poetic. But no, like, the lack of like onboarding and loading indicators, the limitation of only 2 maps right now, yet all the microtransactions are in place. The single player mode, it's a $5 download, that's fine, but it's only 45 minutes long, like, or so I've read. This isn't to say more isn't coming. Like I know that like with many other free to plays, they're using a season system. They've already outlined season 2 and 3 are coming down the pipe. They'll have new stages, a spectator mode, new weapons beyond the 3 currently available or the 3 types currently available. But right now, it really just feels to me like Gung Ho spent the 2-year delay since we last played Ninjala, building the world of Ninjala instead of the game of Ninjala. I mean, like, they're already talking about turning. I know, but no, seriously though, they're already talking about turning this into like a cross-media franchise. They enlisted Steve Aoki to like make a theme song for it.
Yeah,
they have
make sure the game is good first.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, to be fair to Aoki aside, all the things they're doing is exactly what Splatoon did. It too started with small amount of content, albeit more than Ninjala because it was a premium product and kind of had to. And Splatoon also ultimately got some manga. In fact, the Squid Kids comedy show, as it's called, which has been out in Japan for a while, is coincidentally being localized and released by Viz in 2 weeks here in the U.S. on July 14th. And it's like 120 pages long. Like, it's a hefty tome of Squid Kids. But yeah, we'll link to a story about it in the blog post for anyone who's interested in that. But the point is, Splatoon built up towards these cross-media ambitions and laid a solid foundation in its core game to successfully get to where it is now. It feels like Gung Ho's trying to like speed run through the process, and as a result, like the core foundation just isn't as strong as it should be, and that's gonna end up being what hurts it, I think. And like I do get why they wanted to rush this. I mean, right now in particular, game properties are super hot commodities to expand into other mediums. I mean, literally in just the past week or so, there were so many things revealed. Like, it was revealed that a TV show based on Disco Elysium is in the works from the co-producer of the Sonic movie. A My Friend Pedro TV show is being developed by the co-creator of John Wick. Amazon and Bethesda are teaming up to do a Fallout show by the Westworld creators. And that's not even counting or including previous announcements like Ryan Reynolds doing a Dragon's Lair movie, or Netflix and CD Projekt Red producing a cyberpunk anime with Studio Trigger, which I'm sure makes you happy, Kevin. It's like they're like, I get like right now is like the moment to do like this crazy multimedia blitz of a franchise, but I wish their priorities were flipped around a bit to focus on like the core game of Ninjala more. That's really it, because like.
Didn't Inafume also want like a Mighty Number 9 like theme park and anime?
Damn.
And then
he was gonna send someone dressed as Mighty Number 9 into space. No, yeah, he did want all that stuff. He was doing exactly what Gung Ho's doing, but he was using Kickstarter money for it.
Yeah, and then he bit off way more that he could chew with Red Ash.
Yeah,
it's terrible.
Yeah, and it's funny because like the only thing that came out of Mighty Number 9 that was actually half decent was the little spin-off game that Inti Creates made. I forgot what it was called, but it was like a little prequel old school Mega Man game, and that one was pretty good. And then NT Creates has just gone on to like do that with everyone now. Like they did it for Bloodstained. In fact, they're making the sequel to their Bloodstained spin-off game. It comes out like next week on Switch, and it's like co-op or something now. And they're doing it with like Gunvolt for them is now a huge thing. They're making the third one of those. So like there is a sliver of good that came out of Mighty Number 9, but it's not all what Fune angled for or wanted. It was what this other company did with the character. So maybe Ninjala, like they did some good world building. Maybe there's hope that someone can pick it up, or since it is free to play, that Gung Ho can just over time fix it. It just seems like part of me wonders how many people are doing what we did, which is they tried it out with a group of friends. They were kind of puzzled, and then we collectively, the four of us, Angel, we all just got up and went back to Splatoon.
Yeah.
And I wonder how many people are going to play this and be like, you know, why don't we just play Splatoon and just go back to Splatoon? Like, in a twist of kind of bitter irony for Gung Ho, Nintendo's kind of enabling this now because they are doing their first ever Turf War tournament in a couple of weeks on the 18th. And the winning team gets like 2,500 My Nintendo points. So nothing to write home about. It's basically the Maximus Cup from Tetris 99, but in Splatoon. But, yeah, it's kind of cool seeing Nintendo to continue those Summer Game Series events. It's just kind of funny that, like, right as Ninjala is trying to get off the ground and people are like, what is this? The OG of this style of aesthetic. It's just like, hey, I got some stuff for you, and don't worry, I run well. So, because, yeah, honestly, like, I'm impressed. We always kind of make fun of Nintendo and their online infrastructure, but, like, I've never had an issue playing Splatoon online.
Really? I know, me neither.
Yeah, when we play every week, it's been smooth. I mean, even when we did the North American Open, which I just realized we haven't actually talked about on the show, boy, did we didn't do so great. But, yeah, even that one was pretty smooth.
That's one way of putting it.
Yeah. Do you think we're going to fare better in the Turf War this time?
I don't think so. Pretty sure we'll still get destroyed. But
I mean, we had it. Do you want to like explain how much of a handicap we had and how we totally blew it in the North American?
Well, I mean, they were down a player and they still won.
Yeah, in the first.
It happens,
match.
man. It happens to me all the time.
They're just that good. Like, it literally didn't make a difference.
We only progressed to the second round because we got a bye in the first round, and then we just got slaughtered.
It happens.
Yeah. It was a good learning experience of what real pain feels like.
You guys will survive.
Yeah, now we're going to do Turf War. I personally, Angel, think we're going to do better in Turf War because I always am painting the whole stage, even when the mode doesn't call for it. I accidentally am like, oh, wait, what mode are we playing? And like, so I have a roller. I can go paint.
Oh, that's why you guys lost. Dude didn't even know what mode he was playing.
Well, I mean, to be fair, I've learned over time. But, yeah, no, I paint it. My go-to is the Turf War.
Yeah, but that's what everyone starts with. So everyone that's really good is obviously even better at Turf War. Like, just by default.
Way to just crush my dreams. I guess it's better to have them crushed now than later, huh?
If anything, it means it's going to be a harder defeat because this is the one that you think we're going to do better at, but we're somehow...
Oh, don't.
I'm pretty sure we're going to do worse.
To me. Don't do this to me, Angel.
Well, maybe there's a fighting chance.
Let them do it to me.
Only thing that would help us would be if they're just that overconfident, or we could just hope that they have 2 players down and they can't make it up.
Maybe they're down 3 people and it's just 1v4 and then we can just destroy.
Hey man, we did that against one of our friend's cousins, and even when he's by himself, he was still a force to be reckoned with. So, yeah.
I will say though, like, one nice thing is we kind of give them a hard time if they don't support certain scenes, and maybe in light of recent events that's for the better. But I do have to give Nintendo credit that they have set up a good series of somewhat frequent online events, which are very like polite and easy to access, and you don't have to worry about like the scene and anything, because like they do the Mario Kart ones, they do Tetris, they now have multiple Splatoon ones, they have the Smash ones, and it may not be the most competitive, but it is kind of nice that like there is this option that Nintendo didn't used to do. Yeah, that's what I mean. It's like Nintendo didn't used to do. So it used to be you had to go all the way in, or you just kind of didn't do it at all. Now they have this like half step, which is nice.
Yeah, I definitely do prefer this over nothing. So
exactly. But Splatoon aside, Ninjala aside, unless you had anything else to say about Ninjala.
Unfortunately, no. I really wish I did, but that's kind of the game.
just the way you said that. But yeah, so that's what we've been playing. But there is a pretty big free-to-play game on the horizon as well that we should talk about, and that is Pokemon Unite. And really, when talking about Pokemon Unite, there's 3 discussions that have to happen, which is the game itself, how that announcement was handled and received, and then there's, Tencent. Just Tencent, the elephant in the room. But let's start with the actual game. The elevator pitch is basically a mobile-friendly MOBA with Pokemon, except they won't call it a MOBA. So what do you guys think of the MOBA that's not a MOBA?
It looked like a MOBA with Pokemon.
Right?
I mean, my gut reaction was, oh, I guess if I was ever going to try one, I guess it would be the Pokemon one. And that's pretty much where it went. we don't really know much yet. It's like, are they going to have Weavile? Maybe. I don't know. If they don't, then screw this game. Otherwise, yeah.
What about Chatot? Will that redeem it, or does it have to be Weavile because it's a battle game?
I don't know. Either one would be fine. I mean, there's like at least 20 to 30 Pokemon that if they're in, I will go all in. But
well, have you ever played a MOBA? Either of you?
No.
Heroes of the Storm on PC.
So what? I know the very basics of a MOBA. Like I know it's the 3-lane system, which this one doesn't have. This is just 2 paths, and
actually I played 2. I played Smite as well.
Oh, right, and Smite's on Switch now I think about it. But anyway, what is, like, how would you, in a nutshell, sum up a MOBA to someone who isn't familiar with it?
Don't play a MOBA.
Jesus. Yeah, don't play them. Honestly, Heroes of the Storm was fine. I had much more fun with Smite, mainly because of the camera perspective. I do not like overhead video games that much, with like a couple exceptions. And I don't even know if you could count XCOM as one of those, but they're just not exciting to me. They're very. I do not understand how people can see like the League of Legends championships and find that exciting at all.
Yeah.
So this isn't gonna. I mean, cool. It looks like. It doesn't even look like League or Dota. It looks more like casual. Well, obviously they gotta casualize it. But it looks so simple. Like I didn't even like the. And the most, I guess, basic one that you could probably play is Heroes of the Storm, and I played that, and that was way too basic. So I can't even imagine playing like another more basic one where I'm just gonna be bored half my mind.
Yeah. On one hand, the fact that it looks basic, first I thought of that as a downside, but then I guess thinking about it more, I'm all like, wait, why should I care how basic it is? I mean, for one thing, if it was like a full-fledged MOBA, like as deep as League or any of the others, I definitely would not have time to play it, especially as I very much am enjoying Final Fantasy XIV that I am going to continue playing beyond the free trial. There is no way I'm going to fit a Pokemon MOBA. So the fact that this simple and something that I could play on my phone, I'm comparing it more to like, oh, am I going to play this as much as Brawl Stars or Hearthstone? Or maybe replace one of those? Like, I'm down for that.
Right. And that might be what they're angling for, honestly, because like to Kevin's point, this is a simpler looking game. I mean, I mentioned they only have 2 lanes, which is already removing a whole element. They're not even calling it MOBA. It's a strategic team-based battle game. But even then, like even on the Pokemon side, they're keeping it super casual in the sense of types don't matter. Like they made a point of saying Pokemon types do not matter. In this game, you're just upgrading specific attacks for specific Pokemon. And it seems like the only, and yeah, that's kind of my reaction too, Kevin. The only direct tie-in to Pokemon seems to be that you will encounter and battle wild Pokemon on the battlefield for additional points.
Yeah, you could capture
whatever
them,
that
but it's not
yeah.
that much different from recruiting monsters on the field that I know some MOBAs do.
Right, but my point is like they're just theming it around. Oh, you're catching wild Pokemon, but yeah, like it's really dumbed down. Not even dumbed down. It's not the right word, but it's very like. I think like for everything good about the game, like it is a good way to be like an entry point for someone who's played MOBA. Like I'll probably check it out because I've never really played one, and this is like, oh, it's like baby's first MOBA. But this is very clearly a game designed to be an accessible MOBA that they're just slapping Pokemon on top of. Which
absolutely, and I have nothing against that. It's just this
same.
doesn't like other MOBAs weren't for me, and this even less be for me. But more power to everybody that wants to try them.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, this isn't new for the franchise. Like, as we saw in the reveal video for for Unite, like Pokemon slaps itself on all sorts of different things, trading cards, augmented reality apps. But what I noticed over the years, like the best Pokemon spin-offs, the best ones that get slapped on, the ones that received most well received in terms of gameplay and execution, are the ones that actually like integrate Pokemon. Like, how often do people praise Pokemon Rumble or Pokepark versus, say, Pokemon Mystery Dungeon or even Pokemon Ranger, where they actually try to mirror the mechanics or do things in parallel with what you know from Pokemon? Yeah, so like strictly looking at this as a Pokemon game, I can absolutely see why fans were so disappointed in it. And it really didn't help that the Pokemon Company didn't do themselves any favors here either. Because, like, at the end of the day...
Yeah, that pre-trailer definitely made it seem like something bigger was going to appear. But, I mean, but at the same time, I was also like, oh, all right, I guess it's kind of... There's that kind of announcement because it's kind of out there. But
yeah, but it's almost like, I don't even... Like, the pre-trailer, I don't even mind. I'm thinking more like... This, at the end of the day, is not much more of a Pokemon spin-off than, like, the first Pokemon Presents had a couple weeks ago. You know, they had, like, Smile and Snap and...
They definitely could have thrown it in there.
Yeah, exactly. But presumably because of the marketing potential for China, they drummed this up as something so much bigger by giving it its own presentation a week later. And frankly, when you tease something like that, of course the hype train's going to follow. We have a big new project coming. Oh, what can it be? And then, of course, people started looking for clues.
Yeah,
like last
I was hoping
saying,
for
the Johto hints.
Pokemon 2, I already forgot. Pokemon Fighters. Pokken 2. There you
Pokken.
go.
Pokemon 2. Just straight up the sequel to Pokemon.
Dude, imagine all of these.
Could you imagine if all these were just like
just invalidated? Yeah. We're announcing Pokemon 2.
The true evolution of Pokemon.
Yeah.
That would be amazing. I would
see,
very
that's
much like
the type
to
of
see a Pokemon 2.
And that's kind of what they were like angling at. We have a big new project. Like people are like, okay, well, is it going to be like a remake of Gen 4? It can't be. That's too soon. Is it going to be Let's Go Johto? No, the first one they said they didn't want to do a sequel. It's got to be something bigger. What's left? And then it was this. and like when I watched it, I definitely had a sense of that's it.
What if it was a Pokemon, like a literal Pokemon MMO?
See, I would almost be more okay with that because that feels more ingrained in what Pokemon is. Like that to my earlier point.
Playing Final Fantasy, damn it.
Well, you can just
don't say you can just do both because people
I was
that
about
do
to
two
MMOs,
MMOs
that literally there are not enough hours in the day,
to...
even in quarantine.
Yeah.
Yeah, but no, it's that would have felt more on brand, so to speak. And like, I wasn't even realistically expecting a Let's Go Johto or a Gen 4 remake or whatever, but it was just weird that like there's this 11-minute video and like 2 of the minutes are like, here's this game, then the other 9 minutes and I watched these influencers from foreign countries play the game, and that was over. And I was like, what? So like, it doesn't surprise. I guess what I'm saying is it doesn't surprise me that the video went on to become the least liked video on Pokemon's YouTube ever. 150,000 dislikes in 24 hours.
Does the dislikes outnumber the likes?
I don't recall.
Well, you're useless to me.
But I could look it up. But the thing is, this isn't necessarily a barometer of the overall success, of course, of what the game will, how it will perform. But I think it does point to a nagging thought in the back of my mind that for all the wacky and weird Pokemon releases, this feels like a money grab, kind of. And if you think about it from a business sense, it's super smart of the Pokemon Company to do this. Like, as a purely marketing move, Pokemon Unite is basically bridging the Pokemon brand into China using a MOBA as the Trojan horse, which is smart. And then here in the West, it can introduce a whole new engaging, addicting gameplay mechanic to Pokemon fans that can then be monetized like crazy. Because it's a huge, huge financial opportunity for a Pokemon Company since MOBAs on mobile haven't caught on in the West yet. The studio behind this game, I think they're pronounced Timmy Studios, capital T, lowercase I, capital M, lowercase I. Timmy. Let's say Little Timmy. Timmy Studios. Previously, they tried to have a MOBA kick off here, Arena of Valor. It's on Switch. And they tried to integrate DC superheroes into it, right? I don't know if you guys remember that. But it didn't really do the trick. So it feels like they're now taking the learnings of their other massively popular release, Call of Duty Mobile, and starting from the ground up with an established IP known in the West to see if that will be the thing that gets the MOBA money flowing. So that makes sense.
For money. Oh no.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like I know. At the end of the day, like video games are a business. I get that, but and like props to them for making something that, should it work, is going to be like so much cash for them. And truthfully, it's probably gonna have. No, and well, my point is, like, it's gonna, I'm sure, have some side benefits for the game world too, in the sense of like, if MOBAs catch on, the esports scene will become more, if this MOBA catches on, bigger esports scene, more accessible, more people drawn in. So that's all cool. But there's just something about Unite in particular that just rubs me the wrong way a little. And I think I like your little I was gonna say, I think it's just this recurring pattern in gaming lately that is one company, Tencent. So they're the parent company of Timmy Studios, or Timai, or however you say it. They're the ones that the Pokemon Company is specifically teaming up with for Unite. And it just feels like, to me at least, they're sort of reshaping the industry. Like, they have their hands in everything now. And sometimes it works. Like, they're helping bring the Switch to China. Okay. But they also seem to be trying to, like, buy their way into a power position in the industry. And frankly, like, tinfoil hats on, like, when a company that closely associated with the Chinese government's doing something like that, you got to kind of wonder why, like, to what end. But even if you ignore that, like, think about just everything they own. They own the entirety of Riot Games, which means they own all of League of Legends. They own 40% of Epic Games, meaning they own 40% of the Epic Games Store and 40% of Fortnite. They own 84% of Supercell, who has the super popular Clash of Clans on mobile. They own 5% of Activision. Yeah, they own 84% of that. They own 5% of Activision, 5% of Ubisoft. They just bought 20% of Marvelous, the studio behind games like Story of Seasons and Grand Blue and all those. And they have a capital investment in Platinum Games, which was an independent studio until about a month ago. And it's not like any of these things are like intrinsically bad. You know, tinfoil hat about what the Chinese government's doing. They sure really care
about creating good entertainment for us.
Well, that's the thing. Because besides just buying these companies, get their foothold.
I love this Tencent now.
Well, hold on. Just wait. You know what they're doing with Pokemon Unite? They're going to be doing it with Street Fighter. They're going to be doing it with Dynasty Warriors. They're going to be doing it with Metal Slug. They're going to be doing it with Contra. They're doing it with something with Square Enix.
They're the heroes we need. They sound amazing.
Are they?
They're giving me things I never knew I wanted. I love Metal Slug. And Street Fighter.
I know you're just devil's advocate, but I'm saying, like, they actively, publicly talk about how they want to harness other IPs from other companies in order to make themselves a global brand. How basically they want to turn everyone else's IPs into some sort of free-to-play monetization scheme, probably. Like, there's a Bloomberg article from a couple months ago that says, and I quote, Tencent has long regarded Japanese entertainment exports as an area ripe for optimization, where better distribution and marketing strategies can generate vastly greater revenue. And then there was a Wall Street Journal thing last year. They were talking about how they want to use Nintendo characters in their own games. They probably
know a way to make things better to generate more revenue.
Well, better for... and tell me more about their KPIs, Angel, please.
I mean, if people are enjoying their products, they will want to give them more money. So just let them make good products.
I guess my point is, like, they're not making their products. They're going and taking other people's IPs and transforming those into their products. Like, they said that in the Wall Street Journal last year that they want to use Nintendo characters in their own games to make themselves a bigger brand in the West. Like, they want to fill up CDI it, essentially. And the whole thing just feels so, like, cash grabby. Like, I know gaming is a business and everyone's in it for profits, but to see a company outright say, like, give us your IP, we'll squeeze all the money out of it for you, just feels, I don't know. Like, there's no mention of quality. There's no mention of, like, the games. There's no... It's just, we want to make all the monies, and we're going to buy and license all the IPs to do it. And if you don't like it, well, we bought you anyway.
They don't have to mention the quality. Like, one picture, a picture speaks 1,000 words. You saw the gameplay trailer for Pokemon Unite. It speaks for itself. You saw those models and those animations and all of that. I mean, why would they need to bring up the quality? You saw it yourself.
But what happens when they have... You know, what they're doing now remains limited to, like, spin-offs and mobile games, right? Like Unite. But what happens if they keep investing in these companies? What happens when they tell Marvelous, hey, your next Story of Seasons needs to be a microtransaction palooza? Or, like, Platinum, when you guys make Killer 8 or something, even though they don't have the rights to that, you're going to have each of those 8 characters. You have to buy them separately.
Well, it sounds like your examples are more unbelievable than what you claim they're doing.
Okay. But anyway, I'm just saying it's a slippery slope. That's all I'm saying. It's a little weird to have one company basically take over the entire industry like this, but we'll see what happens.
I mean, Disney hasn't gone too crazy, have they?
Well, how many copies of movies have you rebought?
Rebought? None. But I was just complaining about how many versions of the same one there are that I keep missing, so that it didn't match the spine.
There's that. Likewise, how much does it cost to go to Disneyland?
I don't know. I'm guessing it keeps going up.
Well, yeah, right now they're closed, but yes.
It's priceless because you can't right now?
Ah, good save. Okay, and how little do they pay the cast members at Disneyland? So,
enough so that they still have to live. Well. Enough so that they still have to live in their car in the parking lot, apparently. Yeah.
They don't pay them that great.
Never mind what I said.
Yeah, so I know you're kind of being facetious, Angel, but yeah, it's just kind of a weird concern that, like, did you ever think there'd be a time where just, like, every IP would essentially be under one umbrella? Because
I know. Obviously,
we
wouldn't. But obviously, that is never good. It should never be under one umbrella because then you're going to get a lot of dilution, which this Pokemon Unite game does kind of feel like a soulless Pokemon game. I might still find some enjoyment in it simply by seeing a Wii Val, but it'd probably be more. But I feel like my brain is going to be putting in more of the work on making me enjoy it than the game itself.
Yeah,
but,
and that's kind of what the concern is. Like,
I'm not going to judge it 100% yet until it actually comes out, but I think we all know that's what the case is.
Yeah, and in general, it's just a little concerning that like all these classic franchises. And again, for now, it doesn't mean that the main games are changing. But if Tencent owns, 80% of a company, what's to stop them, or 40% of Epic, what's to stop them from leaning on and be like, you need to monetize Fortnite a bit more?
Do you think it's possible that they could, in fact, buy a part of Nintendo?
Yes, I do. I'm trying to remember that. Let me see if I can find the number. They invested in Nintendo recently, actually. Yeah. And not a lot, not like a controlling stake or anything, but they definitely invested a little in Nintendo because they, in part because they're a partner of Nintendo. But yeah, I want to say it was like 5%, 10%.
Oh, because Tencent, so they put 10%? That makes sense.
Oh, yeah, that's very clever of them.
How long until this becomes the Toonie Tencent podcast?
I mean, if they were to reach out and pay us, then
Tencent owns Microsoft, Sony, and Nintendo. Man.
So I take it back. They might not have invested in Nintendo yet. I think they were looking to do it. Yeah, I'll find it after we record because it's going to take a while to find. But yeah, I thought they were considering it at the very least. But the kind of ironic thing is it may actually end up being Nintendo we take refuge in. The same Nintendo who's gone full microtransaction like mania on mobile. According to a new Bloomberg report, they may actually be backing off their mobile plans a bit.
It
so
seems that way.
Yeah, like you may recall...
At least on the first-party stuff, not the Pokemon stuff, since that's obviously different.
Well, Pokemon's its own... Exactly, yeah. But yeah, you may recall... What are you going to say?
No, sorry, but, have they released anything after Dr. Mario World? Oh, wait.
Mario Kart.
Oh, Mario Kart was after that?
Yeah, but they haven't done anything since.
Yeah,
and
that one's kind of just spinning its wheels, but yeah.
Hey, that was good. But no, it's funny because... like 2 years ago when Shuntaro Furukawa, their current president, came on...
Swimsuit Rosalina? Really?
Oh, yeah. But we're going to make... I said...
Wait, hold on, what?
The newest character that
I didn't mean to say, oh, yeah, like that.
All right, later.
It's not really a swimsuit. It's more like a towel. Like a towel with a
that
neck
sounds worse.
brace.
She's only wearing a towel, really?
You're only making this better for me.
But anyway...
It's like a weird beach dress or something.
All right, well...
Kevin?
GG's.
No, I was going to say that like 2 years ago when Furukawa became president, he was talking about how they're going to make $1 billion pillar out of mobile. And, things like this new outfit is certainly going to drive some attention, like Kevin's. But if you fast forward now, 2 years later, like Pocket Camp didn't take off as they had hoped. Tour has its fans, but a lot of folks don't like it. I think the most telling, though, is when Furukawa himself, back in May, he shifted his tone about mobile being the next big thing to Nintendo now saying, we're not necessarily looking to continue releasing many new applications for the mobile market. So, okay, I guess that's the end of that. Which I don't think is like a real loss, right?
On making apps that supplement the games, kind of like how they started to with the, I guess, mandatory Nintendo Online app if you want to chat with people, which we obviously don't use.
What's funny?
Just like make those their own app. Like Animal Crossing has so much potential for an actual useful app. But, they don't like to do any quality of life. So even the Smash Brothers app, like, I literally thought, like, oh, man, I saw these really awesome stages online. I'm just going to download them on my phone. But it's like, nope, you can't search for them that way. You have to just scroll through the thing and just hope that they appear. It's horrible.
What's funny is you're not too far off from what Bloomberg is reporting they're looking at doing. So apparently, like one of the most interesting...
Probably.
No, not even. So one of the most interesting tidbits in the article is that they want to support and release mobile games and apps, but not as moves to expose their IP to new players. Now they want to do the opposite. They want to expand IPs that are established elsewhere into mobile, so people that are already playing on other things or already at the theme park or whatever can now like be like, oh, I'm going to go do this other thing too. Like the example they gave in the article was how Square Enix has Dragon Quest Walk, which is kind of... riff on Pokemon Go, but it's not like what Nintendo was doing with Mario Kart Tour and with Animal Crossing, at least to me, is it felt like they basically so originally I feel like they started treating the iPhone like its own platform, like a standard platform. So like Mario Run came out, right? And that's probably their strongest release, I'd argue. And it certainly felt the most Nintendo of the bunch because they had a game that was designed for that interface specifically. They reimagined Mario in a way that still felt like Mario, but distinguish itself from other entries using the interface to do so through like, the auto running and the one touch you could play with one hand, that sort of thing. And you bought it and you played it and there are no subscriptions, no microtransactions, just a full product and you did it. And then they did like Fire Emblem Heroes, which is, a bit more, has the gacha system. It has, but the gameplay still feels like it fits. It makes sense on a phone. Then they started doing like Animal Crossing and Mario Kart Tour, and those felt like, to me at least, each of those subsequent releases felt more and more like Nintendo was conforming its gameplay to monetization schemes and limitations of a platform, the new ideas inspired by the platform, like Mario Run was. You know what I mean? So what's interesting, to go back to what I was starting to say, is Bloomberg is saying they want to do what Square Enix is doing, which is not like Pokemon Dragon Quest Walk, which it's not a diet Dragon Quest. It's not like baby's first Dragon Quest. It's certainly not normal Dragon Quest, but forced onto a phone. It is a self-contained experience that leverages their known IP, known from elsewhere, but in a way that makes sense on a phone. To me, that's what Mario Run was, but something that Mario Kart Tour was not. So apparently Nintendo wants to go that direction now, and they do want to take things you play in one place and expand them onto the phone, which makes your quality of life apps fit right in with that strategy. Because we're already seeing Nintendo do it a little, very little. Just the other week, Fire Emblem Heroes, they announced that if you own Fire Emblem 3 Houses and your My Nintendo account has it, you're associated both with the app and the game, you will get a buy list in Fire Emblem Heroes, a 5-star buy list for free. Wow. So they're already starting to. It's very minor, I know, but they're slowly moving in the direction.
That's not that bad, considering.
No, yeah, the idea, but and they're moving in the direction of like people that know their properties elsewhere. How do you get them engaged with mobile? I mean, the silly example I was thinking of as well was Dr. Baby Mario in Dr. Mario World. I mean, not Mario, Wario. Sorry, Dr. Baby Wario. He, last week they just out of the blue were like, look, it's Dr. Baby Wario, and he was trending on Twitter for a mix, and it's like Baby Wario. But, like, that's a deep cut for fans. What, he was from which Yoshi's Island? DS, was it, Angel?
Yeah, DS.
Yeah, so I feel like that's almost more of a nod to... I actually don't think I ever played the DS one. How is it?
Really?
I might have. I don't remember.
I mean, it's definitely good. I mean, I love the variety with, like, Baby DK, Baby Peach, all the other babies. But I didn't play Yoshi's New Island. That's where I was like, yeah, this is too derivative. At least this one... try something, I don't know, it's different. Like it built upon it without feeling like it was the exact same game except now it has giant eggs. This one actually felt like they actually, and also these both screens pretty cool. You had like some boss battles that span both screens. I think even Bowser's was like that.
So was Dr. Wario was Baby Wario one of the playable babies?
Yeah, you ride, he rides on your back and he carries a magnet, so you're able to, like magnetize yourself to the ceiling or other things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they kept that even in Dr. Mario. He's still holding the magnet. But what I thought was kind of interesting is like they have been really scraping the bottom of the barrel for characters in these games. I mean, like we were just talking about what Mario Kart Tour has, right? But like in Dr. Mario World, they had a dolphin before they had Baby Wario. A dolphin. Like the random generic dolphin with the goggles from like
I almost spat out my coffee when I saw that.
And like
I don't drink coffee, but I would have.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't remember you ever drinking coffee, so like that was like okay, they're rich and Bob Marrow, but now they're doing these kind of like deep cuts, or like here's weird Baby Wario with his weird eye veins that he needs to like grow into, like they're away from his eyes, which don't make sense because like the veins on your eye. Anyway, here he is. Fans that know him, here's a chance. Here's where you can now check him out for the first time in like 15 years. So if they start doing more like that, where it's almost the other direction, I think that might be kind of what you're describing, and where they could possibly be taking mobile next, based on what Bloomberg's saying. And then that opens the door for all the quality of life apps you're talking about, because at that point, it's a logical use of their resources. I mean, well, up to this point,
I mean, even the DSi and 3DS had like random little nice apps that could have existed on a phone. Like there was the Mario calculator, the Animal Crossing calculator. The Mario alarm clock. Those are fun. I still like them. I still have the Animal Crossing one installed on my
Hey, you got Jump Rope Challenge. You have a Jump Rope app on your Switch. They just added Nintendo costumes to it the other day. Doesn't that count as an app of sorts?
I guess. But I'm specifically talking mobile, and that was...
Yeah.
It's unfair to criticize it because it was free. But yeah.
Yeah, but and I think... That's very kind of you. But yeah, I mean, we'll see where this goes next. But I think Nintendo, like, it sounds like Nintendo's still planning to support mobile. It's just, just the other day they had a shareholder meeting, and Furukawa was saying how Nintendo had, Yeah, he was livid that they didn't make their billion. No, but he was saying that, they still have their ongoing DNA partnership, so it's not like they're pumping the brakes entirely on this. But it is nice to see that Nintendo, especially in light of the Tencent takeovers, may be valuing experiences over microtransactions again, at least on the mobile scene, and at least at some level. So there's no new announced mobile games coming down the pipe. They say they're not releasing any anytime soon. Bloomberg says probably not this year at all. So it does seem like they're taking a minute to regroup, and hopefully that means your quality of life apps for things like Smash.
Hopefully. Maybe.
Speaking of which, this seems about right. We're about halfway through yet. We're at what's usually our halfway mark, and we're switching from free to premium. So why don't we talk Smash? Smash Bros. 8.0 update came out last week. Min Min and all her ARMS-related DLC was part of it. Angel, resident Smash man. What do you think of her?
Damn, it's crazy how many characters got buffed this time around. Almost to the point that, it's just like a resurgence. Like, a lot of characters went from being considered not so great to now being, kind of up there with the upper tiers. Like, you got your Incineroars, Ike's, Bayonettas, Falcos, Mewtwo's. Just goes on. Like, I don't know. I guess they're really listening, or it's just because it's been 6 months since the last update that we had this big of a shakeup in the actual gameplay. But
is it notable differences?
Some of them not so much. Others, yes, it's pretty noticeable. But it's always great. It was just nice seeing that barely anyone got nerfed. People always beg for nerfs anytime anything is annoying. I'll say stuff is annoying, but I don't really beg for it to get nerfed. You just have to adapt to it. I definitely prefer that they just buff everybody else, because then, if you nerf something, at the end of the day, someone, as hard as it is to believe, has fun playing that way. Has fun playing in a way that you would consider can be degenerate, or, just not fun. But it's a term that's actually...
Are you taking shots at how I play as Toon Link, which is, not...
No. No, when I would say degenerate, it means that you're able to get away with not doing any of the actual work to fight, and you're still profiting it. You're still winning.
So when I still steal kills?
No, because you're still losing in those cases. It's different, and that's also free-for-alls. It's a different beast.
Okay. Onward.
It'd be more for example, that isn't truly applicable, but it'd be if Piranha Plant literally just had to keep mashing B and do nothing else, and they could still win the whole game like that.
Oh, I see. So it's when the game enables some sort of cheap.
Exactly. Yeah, they don't have to work for it. They don't have to even try or do anything. They just have to do that thing. I'd rather, even if that exists, I'd rather everyone just get buffed, because then a game is more fun when everyone is usable. And this is the most.
I've never been a fan of the you should buff everything.
Really?
Well, doesn't everything getting
coming
buffed
from a player who used to play a lot of Destiny? Guns constantly would get nerfed in that game, and on the subreddit, the main thing that everybody would say is why would you ban this gun? Why don't you just make everything good? And my rationale behind that is well, if you make everything good, it's gonna take 1 second to kill everything, to kill everybody. You're gonna hit a point to where everything is so good that the game just becomes not fun. To the point where you're just gonna be knocking people out constantly at a much quicker pace.
But
that was gonna be my question. I will, if they keep elevating.
Well, it's not even that they're.
That point?
It's not even that they keep elevating. All they've really done, the characters that got buffed are the characters that rarely got used because they were considered so terrible. Now they're just
right.
All these buffs that we've been getting have literally just been elevating characters to kind of put them in that same kind of vague midfield where no one really knows if they're better or worse anymore than any other character, which is I feel a good place to put them, because it just comes down to how people use them. You could have people will say, "Oh, King K. Rool is still not that great of a character," even though he also got buffed a lot this round. But there are plenty of players who will still dominate with him, and it's a nice. And I feel that's the nice spot to be, where anyone could be good with any character if they put in the time to actually learn them. It just comes down to the type of character it is and the type of player.
So what happens, though, when they raise the low to the mid, and then everyone on the mid is now the low, and they're still the high? Like,
Well, the
do
mid
they
is
start
still the
raising the
mid.
mids to the high?
No,
but the mid's now the low because there's no more low because they're all mid. So does the mid become the low, and then they have to start raising people to a new mid? Like, is it slowly, incrementally climbing up?
They'd probably just stop right there. I don't know. I mean, we're kind of in uncharted territory. I mean, Nintendo, like, literally in the last Smash Brothers, I mean, if they were patching since Brawl, like, undeniably, like, the meta was ruled by Meta Knight. Like, Meta Knight was just so good of a character that if you didn't pick Meta Knight, you may as well not have even entered the tournament. Like, he was
the knight of the meta.
Yeah, it's almost kind of funny that he was named that, or that that just happened to be his name. And then Smash 4 had, like, Bayonetta, like, pretty much doing the exact same thing.
Bayonetta?
Sure.
Sorry, I should just leave.
Yeah, that one was worse.
That is horrible. Yeah.
But, I mean, on top of that, like, they also just, anytime any character won a major, like an Evo or something, that character pretty much got nerfed. And just became, sometimes they nerfed them a little too hard, and you just wouldn't see them ever again. But, I don't know, nerfing and buffing is definitely a tricky category. I think the only reason more people are okay with it right now in Smash Brothers is just because they're literally making characters that had, like, glaring bad weaknesses that made them almost unplayable at times. Now, you know, like, they can actually compete with all the other basic characters. Because there was a lot of, like, why would you use Incineroar if you could just use this? But it's like, but I would like Incineroar. I want to use them. But you're still going to get your butt kicked. And now, you know, they have a better chance.
Right.
But
so here's a question then, or actually, we're gonna say I think you might answer it in a sec.
Oh no, go for it.
I was gonna say, so if I said, "Hey, how's Min?" and you led with everyone got buffed, I'm guessing you're not that impressed with Min.
I mean, I will say that it's amazing how much she feels like I'm playing ARMS. Like, they did an excellent job of just, like, adapting how she plays in her game in Smash Brothers, which I think you know where I'm going with this. Because the reason I don't really play that ARMS that much is because after a few games, I get really bored because it just feels like I'm doing the same thing over and over again. As deep as the game can be, like, it just doesn't give me that same kind of gratifying feel. Like, in Smash Brothers, like, there's like 8 different, technically there's like 8 different moves you could do. There's, like, you know, they're neutral, forward, up, down, and then there's, like, different varying strengths of it when you tilt it or smash it. Like, Min does have all of that, but they all, at the end of the day, end up just come down. They just come down to you shooting something out and waiting for it to come back. And there's only so many times you could do that before, to me at least, it just gets stale. It's really fun in the beginning, but it gets old really quickly for me also.
And it takes a long time. I mean, I jokingly say this on Twitter, but it's also kind of true. Like, I can shoot her arms and then be like, oh, that wasn't the right move. Oh, why'd I do that? Oh, I shouldn't have done that. And they're still not back, and I have that whole train of thought.
I mean,
like, they take so long to go and come back that, like, I'm just like...
I mean, I will say that, like, compared to her, like, this is definitely the best ARMS game there's ever been in Smash Brothers. Like, I've definitely had more fun with Min in ARMS than I do with any of the ARMS characters in ARMS.
You mean Min in Smash?
Min in Smash, yeah.
I almost choked on my water when you said that before.
Like, yeah, like, I have a lot of fun with her just because she actually has, like, other mobility, you know, things she could do. She could actually kick and do up tilts and other things. But, and, you know, changing the arm mid-game is something you can't do in ARMS. It's something you do in between rounds. But at the end of the day, like, Min's game plan is just to, like, stay away from you and attack you from afar. Has a few answers for if you're up close. And yeah, she's really fun to use for, like, 2 games, but then after that, I'm, like, immediately just like, yeah, I'm kind of over it already. Luckily, she isn't as annoying to fight as I thought she was going to be. She can be tough if your opponent is actually really tough, but, like, just knowing her weaknesses and just using her a good amount, like, I want to get her to Elite. She is not as overwhelming, I feel, as playing someone like Simon and Richter that can just, like, make the whole screen rain with projectiles. Like, because if you know where she's going to attack, or if you're lucky enough to read it, like, she is vulnerable a lot of the time, as Jason said, that he has, like, enough time to, like, rethink his life.
Yeah.
And not only that, like, I mean, the only thing about Min is that if she gets you off stage, you're essentially dead. There's, like, it's almost impossible to come back unless you can recover extremely high, which only very few characters can do. But on the other hand, I feel like she has way more trouble recovering than even Little Mac does. Because at least Little Mac has his side B that could move him horizontally, and he could kind of mix it up when he uses that, even if he uses it first or his double jump. Min Min literally just has a double jump, and that's it. Like, any of her attacks, like, it's easier to just block her. You just have to, like, tap her when she's off stage and she dies. So, yeah, very, very...
That leads me to Mike.
So very interesting character. It's just an interesting character. I am happy they're there. I mean, obviously, just like the parallels to the ARMS game are ridiculous. Just the fact that, like, I am more excited about the fact that her music from ARMS is in the game and the stage than
it's so good.
Than the character itself. It's like no different than before. It's like everything but the actual way the character plays. The way the character plays is the least interesting part about the DLC. Pip-Boy,
I agree.
Pip-Boy or Vault Boy being in this DLC is crazier. Which is,
I feel like I've said that before, that like they are doing more with the Mii costumes. That's more interesting.
I mean, if the last three characters were instead the Mii that were revealed was instead, I mean,
it'd be nuts.
Yeah, like I mean, people would make a way bigger deal about like Vault Boy getting a Smash. Like, what the heck? And then before that, it was Cuphead, and before that, it was Sans. Like, yeah, I mean, Cuphead came with what character? Byleth?
Yes.
And Sans came with who? With Terry?
Terry, I think.
No.
Sans. I think Sans was the same time as. Was Sans with Banjo?
No, it was the last three. Only the last three had.
Right. Then Terry. Yeah.
I would honestly prefer the 3 DLC costumes over the last 3 characters, but
I, by the way, agree that the music is awesome. I think the ARMS theme remix is like I know they're always like everyone is here with Smash Bros, but like literally like every possible sound you can think of is in that remix. They have whistles, they have like a string section, they have chants, they have a brass section, they have a guitar solo. Like it's everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, my what I was gonna say is when you're saying that like. You're kind of making the comparison to Lil Mac, and I was going to say my hot casual take is Min Min and her DLC is just Lil Mac but long. Like, she has the same punches, they're just really long. She has kind of a similar up trajectory, but they're just longer. Her stage even, you still bounce off springs on the side, just the springs themselves are physically longer. It's just like, it feels like just like stretched Lil Mac, kind of, from the surface level. I don't know the meta very well perspective, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it isn't as exciting per se. I still think it's an upgrade from like Byleth,
the fun thing is that,
which was just another sword fighter.
Yeah,
but
overall, great character to put in Smash. Not my cup of tea. Hopefully, it is other people's, but that also means that I get to play online now, and coincidentally, because I was on a 3-month hiatus from playing Smash Online, specifically ranked, because it's too easy to just play that for hours and not actually do other stuff. But
I happened to be looking at your Switch profile yesterday. Did you know you put 560 hours into Smash Bros?
That's a little bit.
No, okay.
Yeah. There's accounts that have like thousands of hours in there already for Smash and others. But anyway, I guess being able to play online kind of coincided with an announcement that Melee got rollback netcode. So I don't know how many of you guys know what this means, but rollback netcode is essentially the way the connection works. It's not using like a host system like the way Nintendo does, or some like offshore server. I'm not 100% sure how it works, but it's always described as like the best possible way that you could do a fighting game. Like most pros and people will tell you that it almost feels like you're playing in person, like when you're playing against someone using rollback netcode. And the fact that
when you say Melee, do you mean Melee? Because that did not have online. Did they mod in online?
Yeah, so fans modded in Super Smash Bros. Melee from the GameCube to have online, and it took them like 7 months to do it, but they managed to like hook it up with rollback netcode, which is amazing. Like this game that like was pretty much ready to die now that like COVID was on the rise and people can't go to tournaments anymore, like suddenly has online that is so good it's comparable to being in person, and now it even has a better online than the newest Smash Brothers, which like we're paying money to play online, and I still feel like what we're getting for what we're paying is not as great as what we've been getting for free with the Wii U. I mean, even like when we had to buy our NES and Super Nintendo and other stuff, we still didn't have as many. I mean, we had way more than what we have now. But the point is, getting back to Melee, like, I don't know, just the fact that this is on Melee kind of gives me hope, or at least it kind of tells me that it's definitely possible for them to do that with Smash Ultimate, as they should right now more than ever. But are they? Probably not. I mean,
well, they being Nintendo or they being these people, these modders?
No, I mean, it would have to be Nintendo. They can only mess with that because it's already like an old out-of-date game.
So to that point, Nintendo did address this recently, actually.
Oh.
Sort of. Kind of. In that shareholder meeting that I mentioned that happened the other day that I mentioned a little earlier, Furukawa was saying that, I'm just going to read the quote because it's a translation. Furukawa says that when major releases hit retailers, Nintendo's online servers become overloaded and customers end up getting online delays or connection issues. Furukawa says that Nintendo is constantly updating their server forecast to try and combat this, and they're taking the technical hiccups very seriously. So don't worry, Angel. If it's a new release, they'll do it. But, like, if it's, a year-old like Smash, maybe not.
Yeah, probably not. And even if they did, it still wouldn't address the other issues that like Smash has. Like the fact that you can't change characters between matches when you're connected to only one person, and yet in Mario Kart Deluxe, you can change carts, vehicle combinations, whatever you want in between each race when connected with 11 other people. Like, why is that even a thing? And not to mention that the people that created this rollback netcode for Melee, they even have a lobby system where when you're connected with someone, you can change characters mid-game, and you could even like play some other, you just like practice while it searches for a connection with someone else. And yeah, like Smash can't even do that. I mean, Smash Ultimate, it's I don't know.
Wait, Smash does that. If you're waiting for a match to begin.
Oh no! Just the fact that you can't change in between stuff. Like, the fact it's so limiting. The fact that we have to hope that it picks our preferred rule set instead of giving us just a set rule set to play at.
Yeah.
Like. As high as my GSP is, whatever it is right now, unless I checked, I will still randomly have to fight someone that put like 1 minute, 1 life. It's like, what the heck? Like, that is not how you play online. I mean, there is, and that's the terrible thing. I mean, there is like kind of a universally accepted rule set, which at least for Ultimate, it's basically 3 stock, 7 minutes. But you'll still get people that will put, like I said, like 1 minute, 1 stock, or
why 7 minutes? That's such an arbitrary number.
Yeah, what's the backstory of that?
Usually, you give it like 2 minutes per stock, and then add an extra minute. So that's usually the average time. I don't know how they came to that, but in practice, I feel like that amount of time has been pretty good. It never feels like that much time, and it never feels like too short of a time. Because you definitely feel it. Like, when it's like 3 minutes, 3 stock, 6 minutes, it really feels like you have to hustle. But 3 stock, 7 minutes, I don't know. It just feels like a nice sweet spot. But, yeah. It's just annoying that...
You know what? Honestly, to your point, I'm shocked that they didn't... So, every DLC update with the firmware update, they've announced something new. They didn't this time. 8.0 didn't have any actual, like, functionality changes. Like, They were so short on stuff in 8.0 that the presentation that Sakurai did, like, instead of... one, Min Min doesn't have enough to talk about on her own. And then 2, they didn't have other announcements, so they spent the last, like, 5 or 10 minutes of their presentation, I'm exaggerating, but being like, hey, here's how to unlock some very specific spirits.
They did it... They did say in the last presentation that they weren't going to do any more updates to the game.
But, like, quality of life stuff, I figured would still be fair game. They're selling DLC for another year.
Outside
of like a retired game.
Outside of updating, like, just patching people up and down, I don't think they're going to do anything. Because anything else...
But I'm just saying that's ridiculous.
I know, yeah, like, it is. Like, any other quality of life, I think, would be too big for them. Like, adding costumes for other characters besides just Mii's, or...
Yeah.
Or just fixing a lot of that, like, user interface stuff. Why can it be so... Why is it so hard to just do what every other game does? And just, like, if you're playing ranked, just, first of all, get rid of that GSP. Just give us a normal ranking system. Like, have it be multi-tiered or whatever.
Yeah, that one's never happening.
I don't, like, even, like, yeah, whatever. Even like at least even Mario Kart makes more sense, and that one is like still a weird number system. And make people have to do like a 2v3 if they're playing like online. Like that's what every other game does. They always make you do a 2 versus 3. That is the most fair and traditional way of doing any kind of competitive game. At least that way, like, I mean, if you lose the first round, they give you a chance to hopefully learn from your mistake and come back from it. And it happens plenty of times.
I'm still fixated on your point about just being able to change characters because, like,
I know. Well, that is so horrible that, like,
no. I'm saying they spent the time in the presentation that Sakurai did from his house, which was very nice and all. But they spent time to go hunt down the original voice actor for Captain Falcon. Because, fun fact, they have not used any new recordings of Captain Falcon's voice since the N64. They kept using extra takes they had for extra dialogue as they introduced new things.
Yeah, I was
gonna
say, like, I know he definitely sounded different, but I guess he didn't.
Yeah, so they went and got him for the ramen vignette they did to introduce Min Min, which was great. But, like, maybe some of those resources where they went to go hunt down Captain Falcon's guy and get him to record in the booth again, like, maybe they could have just, like, built an option to go back and change your fighter. I don't know. I realize they're not comparable, but my point is, like, something as insignificant as Captain Falcon, while it's great they did that, and I love Sakurai's commitment to those things, versus, like, having to completely leave a lobby just to switch fighters. I mean, every other Nintendo-made game doesn't do that. It just seems weird.
I mean, priorities. I mean, as much as I love the game, like, or Smash Bros. Series in general, I mean, they've definitely always struggled with the online. I mean, offline, I mean, it's pretty much near perfect.
Right.
But I mean, we're in a world where online is just too important now, and now so more than ever. I mean, if they, at the very least, in the next game, they're gonna have to. They have to get it right, and yeah, they have. Yeah.
Maybe that's the theme of the next one. Remember, we were talking
hopefully the next one,
about,
like obviously since it's not going to be an ultimate, like if they're gonna scale back the roster, I really hope they just like give all the classic people the love and attention that the new DLC people have been getting in their moveset. Because as much as I, not have as much fun with Min Min, I do love the fact that it feels like she's actually coming from her game. I feel like they could obviously do, like, just rework Mario the way all these DLC characters have been getting reworked, or all these newer characters, because they all they definitely feel like old, like from the old world or from the old game. Like they just feel
from the old world, from Eastern.
Yeah, they
Europe.
just feel basic. They feel like they like out of touch. Like especially Bowser. Like as much as I love Bowser, he just feels like a completely like misguided look at what Bowser is. It looks like someone's like, oh, he's a big monster dragon. Let's just make dragon sounding noises and do like basic claw swipes. Or even Mario, like just
2001 Bowser basically was that, to be fair.
Yeah.
They didn't really start doing
2001 Bowser was fine. Yeah. That's kind of how he was. But then they had a chance in Brawl. Like, no, let's keep it the same. They had a chance in Wii U. Nope, keep them the same. They have a chance in Ultimate. Oh, let's just make them stand up straight. All right. But they still make them, this weird monster thing.
I think Ultimate was not the opportunity for them to do that. I think the next game, you're right, is going to be Ultimate's all about everything up to this point, so they couldn't really change him.
Yeah.
Like, it goes against the mission.
No, yeah. But, I mean, but at this point, like, especially, it just feels like we're playing with the same characters that we've been playing with since, at least Brawl. Some characters even, like, from the beginning, like Captain Falcon.
Quite literally.
Literally hasn't changed except for, like, the one move he got in, like, Melee. But...
But I was going to say, I do think, to your point, maybe the next Smash Bros. Because, we were talking about, I don't know how many episodes ago, we had the idea of, like, what if it's a 3D fighter? And we were, like, kind of half serious. What if it's just, like, a good online game? What if they just call it, like, Super Smash Brothers Online or something? And it's just, like...
That sounds like an MMO with, like, Smash characters.
It does, actually. It does, yeah. You're right. Super Smash Brothers 14 online. But, yeah, I don't know. Or, like, something where they just emphasize the net play, especially in the current... world, right? Who knows how long this idea is going to last.
That'd be great. If Nintendo in general just acknowledged net play more, I mean, Mario Party would be an amazing candidate for that, but,
Yeah, well, they're too busy with Clubhouse games, so, But I will say Nintendo does eventually listen. It takes some years. They get there. They just acknowledged Joy-Con drift the other day. So... officially, from their president.
Didn't
from
they
Furukawa.
Already? Because they've been taking controllers?
They put out... So they have been low-key replacing controllers, but there is a class action lawsuit against them, basically saying you're not doing enough. And in Europe, some of the branches weren't even taking in the controllers. They're saying we're not dealing with this. And then in that shareholder meeting, the same one I keep dropping, Furukawa said he apologizes for the trouble caused to our customers. So there you go. They're actually like full on admitting it. He says they can't talk about what they're doing as the next step because they're in a class action lawsuit. But yeah, he full on, as President Nintendo said, "Yep, this is a thing," and "Yep,
they're probably going to lose the lawsuit, huh?
I don't know.
What do you think, Jason? I'm asking you.
I'm not a lawyer.
I'm asking you what you think.
What I think is they're going to settle. That's what I think. I don't think they're going to want to lose, but they'll settle and take a hit that won't be as big of a hit as if they lost. That's my guess. But we'll find out in due time. I don't know how long this sort of thing's going to stay in court. But yeah, so if they can admit Joy-Con drift 3 years in, maybe they can admit online faults 20 years in, or 10 years in, I guess now.
Yeah,
so, we'll be dead by then. Jesus.
I know. I know. We will.
Well, at least other companies
Angel,
are doing it well.
While you're on a tear about your criticism of Nintendo, you went back to Luigi's Mansion 3, didn't you? How was that?
Yeah, my brother and I finally got around to beating it, collecting every single gem in the game. It was about 20 hours, but easily more than half of it was spent looking for the aforementioned gems. Like, if it wasn't for those gems, like, the game would have just been way too easy. But, I mean, and as I said in the beginning when we first talked about this, like, the presentation is good. Like, some stuff I really like about it is the way they, like, just Mario's presentation. Like, I just love how, like, expressive Mario is. And
do you mean Luigi, perchance, or just Mario? Who's in it for, like, a minute?
Well, you haven't beaten it, so I guess.
I mean, I know he comes back. Not going to say much more. I sorry, some people might not be in it.
Yeah, something anybody could have, anyone said. Anyway, yeah, like, yeah, I just love, like, how much personality Mario was given. It's just really weird to see him in a non-playable role and him acting, you know, just, like, running around doing his thing, which is just crazy. Although, something that really stood out to me and Novus was how floaty and not good his jumps looked when he was animated doing jumps. Because, you know, like, he's running ahead of you, platforming in his Mario way, and you have to, you know, do it. I mean, Luigi can jump higher than him, but, you know, he has to climb the stairs, shimmy across, and do it in an awkward way and not just jump up. But point is, I thought, like, Nintendo would, of all the things to be, like, nitpicky about, like, all right, we're gonna, who made this game? Level 7 something?
Next Level Games.
Next Level Games, yeah. Like, here, Next Level Games. We're gonna give you the keys to Mario and Luigi. Like, you better not mess up Mario's jump, because that is literally what he's known for. And yet, it's the thing that stands out the most as, like, oh, that did not feel like a good jump. It just felt like it was jumping in space. But, yeah, I don't know why I'm, like, ranting so much about this, but I guess it's just something that just really bothered me for some reason. But,
does it leave you concerned about the Illumination movie?
I guess so. I guess that means I can't trust them for quality control on their own properties, but or yeah, like to checking in on them. But I mean,
on the flip side though, the theme park looks amazing. So some of it they're doing.
So yeah, like Mario, the way he was portrayed outside of that jump, like excellent, and the gems definitely carried the game. Like as far as just like the meat of the puzzles and the difficulty, just because a lot of the gems were hidden in pretty clever spots, and there were a few that, like, genuinely, like, just stumped us. Like, we had no idea where they were, couldn't think of where to look. We checked everywhere. Next day we come in, we're like, oh, there's this little spot here we could stand on, and it kind of correlates with this other thing, and there you go, there it was. And we find it, like, right away. Like, you do get some genuine aha moments, but then there are other gems that are just kind of haphazardly or just kind of cheaply hidden in places. Like, one of my biggest gripes with Luigi's Mansion 3 is just that it doesn't really feel like I'm exploring the mansion. It feels like I'm just checking off, like, a checklist of mundane tasks. Like, they somehow made, like, the task of, I guess, like, using your poltergust just kind of mundane and just not as fun towards the end. Like, because by the time you get to the end, like, if you want to complete everything, which we did, because we want to see every environment and every interaction, unfortunately, you have to, anytime you encounter anything new, you have to suck at it, shine the strobe light at it, do your jumpy thing at it, and shoot the plunger at it, just in case it'll interact with any of those, because sometimes it isn't clear which one is going to interact with it. So just imagine having to pretty much go through that rotation on everything you can interact with, just because sometimes like when you miss it, that's when it actually had to be interacted with that way. And when you do it, most of the time you get nothing. So it just because of the way the levels were designed, it kind of led to that unfortunate side effect. And yeah, I don't know. Like besides that, I will say that also the bosses, especially the final one, just wasn't that memorable. Like I really loved how the bosses in the original Luigi's Mansion game were just like part of the environment. I love how they were just like another puzzle to solve, and they didn't have like these cutscenes introducing them. Like they were just kind of there, and it almost made them creepier in that sense, because like you wouldn't really know like how to interact with them until you get the right thing, and you know they're just like part of the set pieces. But in this one, like every single ghost gets like this long cutscene, and sometimes the cutscenes are longer than what it takes to beat them. And most of the time, the boss fights just end up being kind of samey. And at least in Luigi's Mansion, because they weren't really so much boss fights as they were puzzles, like each one felt completely different. Like it wasn't just like wait for them to appear to attack you so that you could strobe them. Like in Luigi's Mansion, one of them was like sucking up all of this guy's food, or in another one was like throwing a bone at the dog monster. You have to find the bone first from the skeleton ghost monster. Like they felt just way more integrated. And when there were quote unquote boss battles that had cutscenes, they were also presented in very cool and unique ways. And this one, I guess because every ghost had one and you have to go through 15 floors of them, like I don't know, I guess it just kind of outstays its welcome, especially because I mean, me personally, I did not like ever since they went with this more cartoony style going from the old Luigi's Mansion, like it kind of felt like they were just sterilizing it more. Like, none of the ghosts felt memorable. Like, I feel like I have a hard time remembering what the standard ghost in this one looks like compared to the standard ghost in Luigi's Mansion 1. Like, something about the way they were designed just felt more in line with the Mario universe and just were more appealing. And these feel more generic. They just feel like generic ghosts. Even, like, the super blocky one. That one's probably the most unique looking one. The one that's, like, shaped like a red block. And I don't know, it felt like in the process of giving the game more personality, they kind of did the opposite. I feel like with the exception of like Luigi himself and Mario, or even Peach the few times she gets to act, like everything just feels so uninspired. It's almost like they took Luigi's Mansion and were like, you know what? The puzzle stuff and all the stuff is great, but I want to make it my own. I want to do something completely different with Luigi's Mansion. And I don't know, it's like you kind of missed the point on what made Luigi's Mansion initially great, and kind of went off in his own direction, and it ended up coming out not as great. Like, I would honestly say this one is not as good as Dark Moon, kind of putting this like in a downward trend for Luigi's Mansion quality. But it's, I mean, in a vacuum, it's a good game, but knowing what it could have been just makes it feel that much more disappointing. But
you know,
it's like easy for the wrong reasons and hard for the wrong reasons. Like, I feel like Nintendo is normally really good at finding like a nice balance. Like, I would even say like Mario Odyssey, like if they literally toned down how many moons they put in levels, it would, I would say like that would make it like a way much more enjoyable game. Because typically I enjoy and have fun going through the whole process of 100%ing a Mario game. Like, usually every challenge, everything they do is like just keeps escalating, and it's always fun. In Mario Odyssey, it was literally like, oh my god, where's like the damn last moon? It's been like hours, I don't know where like the heck to look, and it's like in the most arbitrary random spots. Like, oh, you mean you didn't look up at the sky at this like tiny little speck of a taxi for like 5 seconds, and all of a sudden the moon just appears in front of you? It's like, oh, okay, I guess that's clever. Like, that's.
Well, it sounds like you're describing the gems in Luigi as being cut from a very similar cloth.
Yeah, like, that's right. Like, some of them are clever, and the other ones just felt like, oh, we had to put 5 in each floor, so I guess here it is. Because that's the thing too. Like, every floor, you know, it's its own theme, and some things are, you know, more clever than others, and other things are more interesting than others. But like, I just miss like the unifying aesthetic of just being like one giant mansion where everything does kind of feel like it fits together. Like, this literally just feels like, you know, each level is like its own separate little game that doesn't really connect with the rest. And I feel like Luigi's Mansion 1 had more interconnectivity with the entire mansion. Like, I liked I mean, I like the backtracking. It felt like I was like really completing something, but I mean, this one it feels like it feels more like I'm checking off a checklist of things to do instead of
it's interesting
instead of like naturally discovering stuff. But
it's interesting because they purposely tried to make it like, because like Dark Moon was very compartmentalized in that regard, because the whole idea was like, oh, play it on the go. It seemed like they tried to walk that back, but I guess at least to you it still had that compartmentalization.
It was like no different than Dark Moon, except they're all in the same building. Like having like oh, let's have one floor be Egyptian themed, and it's like so Egyptian themed, or like one floor be a movie studio. It's like at that point, like it's almost like they had no business being in the same hotel, but they are. Like it's hey,
it could be a themed hotel.
No, and it can be, but like gameplay wise, it doesn't solve the issue of like let's have everything be in one place instead of 3 separate places, so we can have a more unifying theme. But they still don't, because they made every room so distinct, which is fine, but
it's not what you're
looking for. And honestly, I would even say the boss battles in Dark Moon were way more inspired, like, and just way more unique. Like, I remember more of them. Like, there was like the giant like ice monster that you're like inside of a giant drill and you're going downwards, and I don't know, that was just really cool. It was in 3D and it just has a very cool looking face. The only one I remember off the top of my head liking was the shark. It was like a shark ghost, and he goes into the boat you're fighting him on, and then his face becomes like the broken planks of wood, and that just has like a really cool effect to it. But everyone else just looks like generic ghost person with a wig. It's like, oh, okay, I guess they're a dancer, they're like a bodybuilder, or they're like a hillbilly or something. But yeah,
there was something you said in there that caught my ear. You made a comment of it almost feels like they took Luigi's Mansion, like, oh, we have to make it something different now, right? That's what you're saying?
I feel more like innovation for the sake of innovation instead of like, building, like finding something that works and just building on top of it instead of like, because I mean, it does kind of feel like they built on top of what Luigi's Mansion 1 did, but the level design didn't cater around that. It's like they kind of built 2 different games with like the original system. So I don't know.
You are, whether intentionally or not, describing
it's in my notes. That's how I felt.
What I'm about to say. No, but I'm saying you're intentionally or not perfectly syncing up with exactly the design philosophy that the producer of that game has. And the reason I bring it up, and I said at the top, it's interesting that you're bringing up Luigi's Mansion now, because the producer of that game, Kensuke Tanabe, who's been in Nintendo forever, this is his MO. This is what he does. And he was talking about it just the other day with Game Informer about Paper Mario the Origami King. And I was going to bring it up in the context of, well, these 2 games are, both by him. So I guess that's kind of a reason to bring them together. I didn't think you were going to line them up that perfectly. But yeah, he was saying in this interview, that I'm just going to read the quote. When continuing a game series, it's much easier to carry over the basics from an existing game rather than building new systems for each new installment. But that's not how you create new experiences or unexpected surprises. As a game designer, I want to deliver new experiences and surprises to our fans. So I always challenge myself to create something new. To be sure, I will sometimes use the same system in a subsequent game to further develop that system until I feel it has reached its full potential. But my goal is to continue to tackle new challenges as much as possible. So literally what you're saying, where someone took Luigi's Mansion and went, okay, we need to do something different with that, is his MO.
So he's the reason why Nintendo has been coming out with some not that good. I mean, has he played Mario Galaxy 2? Like, that game didn't reinvent Galaxy. Like, it literally took what was great from Galaxy and just like built on it, and it still surprised me. It still gave me a new experience, and I like love the heck out of it.
Well, let me give you a list of some of the games he's involved with to further boil your blood. All right, so ready? He did a lot of the more experimental Kirby's, and again, he's only the producer, so he's the overseer. He's the one giving guidance. So, the more experimental Kirby's like Canvas Curse and Mass Attack. He did the Metroid Primes, including, yes, Federation Force. He did the Chibi Robos from the original to the Photo Safari one up through Ziplash. He's done the Paper Marios. He's done the Mario vs. DK series.
Wait, when you say Paper Marios, you mean
1,000-Year Door and up.
He did 1,000-Year Door and then followed it up with Sticker Star?
Uh-huh. No, it was Super Paper Mario, and then with Sticker Star.
Jesus.
He did the Mario vs. Donkey Kong series, which, to be fair, they were for a long time cookie cutter, but then actually got kind of interesting. The 3DS one's actually really good and very.
Wait, what do you mean cookie cutter? It was like only the same. It was the Mario vs. Donkey Kong series was
They did.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
Well, first it was like a GBA remake of like Donkey Kong 86 or whatever it was called, like the platformer Mario. Like that one, the Game Boy Advance one was really cool. Like that's like pretty much what I wanted from the from the Mario with the Donkey Kong series.
Yeah.
And then I guess they went with the March of the Minis, which was cool.
That's what I meant. When they went Lemmings, they kept it at Lemmings for like 3 or 4 games. And then they changed it again with the 3DS one, which is basically Lemmings combined with a 3D Rubik's Cube looking slide puzzle, which I thought was really cool. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so he did all those. In fact, he also did the Donkey Kong Country Returns and Tropical Freeze entries, which there's a story floating around. I don't know if it's true that apparently he's the one that told him drop the Kremlings and do something new.
Ugh.
So there's definitely a through line here if you aren't picking up on it. And I'm not trying to say he's bad at games or like his choices are poor, because there's some interesting cool games throughout those, but it is interesting how every game series that seems to like kind of ditch its roots to the frustration of fans has him as kind of the overseer.
Because that's kind of what like a lot of those games, like especially the later ones, like they all feel like they took the stuff that I guess like executive shareholders would think people would want more of and give us more of that instead of what actually made us love it to begin with. But
yeah, and what's interesting
and his philosophy kind of seems to echo like I guess Miyamoto's recently, which sometimes doesn't always produce great stuff.
I would say Miyamoto. No, see, I think Miyamoto's a little different. I think Nintendo outside of Tanabe is a little different. I think Miyamoto has this point of we come up with a gameplay concept, then we see what IP it fits, and that's how a lot of the new IPs are formed. Like Splatoon started as just a random.
No. I'm thinking his refusal to, like. I mean, Galaxy 2 is not Galaxy 2 because of Miyamoto. Like, it wasn't a...
Right, that's because of...
Yeah, I'm talking about his MO of, like, we have to have something completely new and innovative to bring it out. Which I feel like you sometimes don't need. I feel like sometimes that sometimes could lead to... That's like a dangerous slope to lead down to if you're just trying to innovate for the sake of innovation.
I very much feel like that's holdover logic from the DS and Wii days, and I very much feel like Tanabe's clung to that even more than Miyamoto has.
Oh no, yeah, definitely. But Miyamoto isn't completely excusable.
No, I'm not saying he's
on a new F-Zero. Like, come on, man, just give it a freaking F-Zero. Like, you don't even have to do it. Don't even touch it. Give it a Sega again, even though apparently he didn't like it.
I don't know why he didn't like it. It's so good. And the problem is the studio at Sega AV doesn't exist anymore, but they've all been scattered. But the point is, I think what's interesting is like this logic was absolutely what Nintendo needed to do in the DS and Wii days, because they had new types of control input. They had these different interfaces. You had to adapt to those. You had to take concepts you knew and present them in new ways. And sure, you build on the existing system that's there, as he's describing, but you do need to do something different, or else it's just like, why am I playing on this motion control thing with just a nunchuck? Like, what is going on? Like, it just doesn't make sense for the mission of the system. But we're now past that. And I would say even the Wii U was that idea, but misguided. Like, they have to do something with the gamepad because they put a screen in the gamepad. And that's
fine. Like, when it's like a new game in the series or something. Like, I'm just specifically talking sequels when we know, like, the previous entry, like, did something that resonated with a lot of people.
Your argument is if it's broken, why fix it?
Yeah, and that's what I'm building towards, is Nintendo used to say, well, we're fixing it because we're making it work for our new platform. The problem is where there's a different interface entirely. The problem is they've now gone back to the interface where things were pre-broken. So why are they not going back to what the fans want? That's, I think, the sticking point where you are currently. Because, like, Chibi Robo, okay, you want to do something with the camera on a DSi or a 3DS or whatever that Chibi Robo photo game is. Chibi Robo makes sense for that. You go explore your house just like he explores your house. It lines up. But then once you're past that, why does Chibi Robo become a side scroller? Why not go back to the previous entry? And you could argue, well, it didn't sell well enough, but we have potential and, hope in the IP. Well, okay, so why make it the most generic platformer, not some sort of hybrid
not the thing that people were actually asking for? But
yeah, but then again, how many people? That's the thing. And obviously there's different tiers of it, and obviously fans can be vocal, but there could be like a quieter majority of people who just buy the game and like it. But nonetheless, like, I don't know why his mission statement is every single one has to divert from every single other.
I mean, me who loved Chibi Robo did not buy Chibi Robo Ziplash because I did not want a Chibi Robo platformer, and it looks like I did a good choice. Because what kind of
it's not bad.
What kind of platformer leaves it up to a roulette to decide whether you get to advance or not? Like, come on.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Well, no. I think you still advance. I think it was just if you get like bonuses or something.
No, it was about advance.
Are you sure?
Yeah, it wasn't the best thing ever.
I don't remember that. Yeah, so and that's a good example too. It's like they have to create something new, so they just do that weird thing. And again, I don't think it's like obviously Tanabe's been there forever. He's been involved with the old Mario games, all sorts of stuff. He's a known figure at Nintendo, so it's not like it's this guy coming out of nowhere like I don't know how this works and just doing stuff. But it is interesting that like if you look at his output, it is very much this path. Mine with some exceptions, like Star Fox. He did Star Fox Assault. He did none of the others. So it's not always. And he did some stuff that didn't really iterate in crazy ways. He did the Pushmo series. They stuck to the same path.
They had
it really depends.
Pushmo was really great because they actually had a very gradual way of like evolving the gameplay. Like Stretch Mo, like I thought like was a very cool and new way of like actually doing it than just doing like the regular drawers. I don't know. They've all been really great.
What's funny is if you actually look at what he's done with like Paper Mario, he is doing that evolution. The problem is he's on a track that people don't want him on. And again, he's only the producer. There's other people who are making the nitty-gritty decisions. He's just kind of an advisor. But nonetheless, the track they're on from Sticker Star to Colors...
word with more,
right. But from like Sticker Star to Color Splash to now Origami King, like there's a very steady progression of that path. And like the new one, they're now changing up that. Like the first one was, okay, you're basically finding stuff in the world and that's it. The second one's like, okay, so you're finding stuff, but you know what? We're going to make battles a little more engaging and you actually need to do them and there's a reason. And now this one's like, okay, battles are more engaging. Great. We're doing this weird like ring thing where you have to line up a ring before the battle begins and then you do the battle. And then like you only get a certain number of turns to move the ring. Can't move the ring fast enough? That's okay. You can you can use coins in game to buy extra turns and stuff like that. So they're like doing different things that are down a path, but the path is based on the logic of we need to do something different from what it was before, and then we need to keep evolving on that different thing till we max it out, then we pivot again. And it's like, or you could go back to the other thing. I mean, Mario and Luigi isn't even a franchise anymore as of now. Alpha Dream's bankrupt. So like there's a void of traditional RPGs, and guess what? After Color Splash, going in the direction of a normal RPG is something different and is a new system and is full of surprises because fans are now following the Color Splash route. So, like, they're I don't know. It's just I thought it was just interesting that he said that, and it meshes surprisingly well with your point about Luigi. So.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know. It just has to click, or I don't know. I mean, I think the problem is that like there was only one Luigi's Mansion. Like there was before we got a big drastic change. Like it's not like, for example, like God of War where we went through like 6 entries before they finally changed the gameplay style. Like as much as I liked the first entries, like at some point like they definitely needed to like overhaul it if they actually want the franchise to survive for another couple of years, as long as it did. I mean, everything good, no matter how good it is, does get stale. And just look at the new Super Mario Brothers series, definitely didn't deserve the new moniker by the end.
And it's interesting though because
I love those, but
we're seeing it from our perspective though, where like we have the nostalgia for the original Luigi's Mansion and experienced it.
Yeah, honestly,
but Nintendo pumps out Dark Moon and goes, well, that sold great. People love this, and then did Dark Moon 2 and honestly, Luigi's Mansion 3, and it sold great.
I wouldn't blame them. Like also having that in mind, like, damn, like on one hand, like, damn, we're getting old, and on the other hand, it's like, like a lot of people probably had never played the original, and even though it did get re-released on 3DS, like I could easily see them going like, hey, let's just take the concept of Luigi's Mansion and build this game around it. And I mean, if I hadn't played the original, I probably would have liked these a lot more. It's only because, like, we are who we are, and we're just like, oh, I really wanted this, and it's not this. And it's kind of hard to compare to that. And, I mean, some aspects, albeit, like, obviously weren't as fun or less inspired, but that doesn't take away from the fact that, you like what you like, and it's hard. It's not, and I'm not going to not compare, and I'm not going to, not compare a game called Luigi's Mansion 3 to Luigi's Mansion 1 or Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon, so...
And I think one thing that Tanabe has in his favor is a lot of his games just have subtitles and not numbers, so he could argue, like Super Paper Mario is a totally different naming scheme than the other Paper Mario, so that can be its own thing, and everyone will be like, oh yeah, it's a spin-off.
None of the Paper Mario
but like coming back, no, but they all had. But you could say, okay, there's Paper Mario, then there's Paper Mario Thousand Year Door, so that's the direct sequel, has a subtitle. Now there's Super Paper Mario, that's clearly something different.
998,
but. Right, but so that's clearly some other thing because it says Super in front. It's like a spin-off. But then when they came back to the naming scheme, that's when then people could go, well, that's not Thousand. Like if they called it Super Paper Mario Sticker Star, I feel like people would be like, oh, this isn't Paper Mario, but then again, it's not called Paper Mario. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like it could have like one company that does really well.
like put a little E and a Z, like right on the top. It's Easy Paper Mario. Sticker
I was
stock.
gonna say one company that does this surprisingly well,
Or shiny,
weirdly, is Square Enix.
Oh,
Like they have, like they'll say everything's Final Fantasy, but they have so many different naming schemes that you can immediately go, okay, this is a main Final Fantasy. Okay, this is a weird spin-off.
All right, my
okay,
time to
this is a
shine. So
second
you
spin-off.
got Final
Yes.
Fantasy, right? Then you go
Yeah.
all the way to 10, and then it gets
Yeah.
bonkers. Then we get 10-2, baby.
wait, they actually made it to 10
10
without any kind of derailment.
Yeah.
No.
They had spin-offs, but they kept
in
the
between
numbers.
there, but like main,
Oh, no.
main,
Like
main stage,
tactics.
yeah.
No, yeah, that's it. I'm just talking like mainline sequels, like Tales, Xillia 2, whatnot.
Okay, yeah. So they basically went all the way to 10. 10 was the first one to get a sequel. Then 11 came out. That was an MMO. Then 12. 12 didn't get a sequel. No. 12 did get a sequel. Remnant Wings on the DS.
What?
Right.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
You got a sequel. I forgot about that one. Then 13 with its 50 sequels. And then 14 is an MMO, and then 15 got DLC, which might as well be sequels. Well,
But you
no,
know
they're
what's
not
beautiful
sequels.
about that is, if you're getting Final Fantasy 14-2 or whatever, the gameplay is going to be like Final Fantasy 14. Versus if you get Final Fantasy 10, the gameplay is going to be like 2. It's going to be like
Not true
10.
anymore.
Really?
Yep.
They're now mixing that up? Okay, never mind. Square Enix, I guess I shouldn't have given credit, because now I think about like Kingdom Hearts, they all have subtitles, and they're all, some are sequels, some are spin-offs. So,
Kingdom
No,
Hearts,
or no, that's not true.
Kingdom Hearts 3. Yeah, none of them are spin-offs. Kingdom
Not even
Hearts
the music
3
one.
is the 11th
oh, come on.
game.
The rhythm one has to.
Is the 11th game in the
the-
Kingdom Hearts series.
I take back everything I said
all
about Square.
all the games preceding Kingdom Hearts, all canon. Even though they're spin-offs, they're absolutely canon, and they are integral to the story of Kingdom Hearts 3. There was a character that showed up in Kingdom Hearts 3 that I was like, who the hell is this jackass? And then I learned that he was from the mobile spin-off. It's like, okay, well, screw me.
So that means people are.
So
obligated
does that
to
mean
play
you're
it,
going?
yeah.
Wait, does that mean you're going to have to play the new rhythm one they just announced?
Yeah,
Like,
they're
coming to
gonna.
Switch?
Square Enix is gonna find a way to make that canon.
I mean, they showed a trailer. I mean, after the rhythm part, I remember seeing like part of the trailer involved like some plot stuff. Like it seemed like there was like some lore stuff being like teased.
Oh yeah, so that trailer very much felt like this is phase 2 of the Kingdom Hearts story.
Oh geez,
Like
phase 2.
like-
I got.
yeah, phase 2.
We're just entering phase 2.
Yep.
Jesus.
By the way, for those who don't know what game we're talking about, it's Kingdom Hearts Melody of Memory is the name, and it's like if everyone played Theater Rhythm back in the day,
Kingdom Hearts
it's like
Mom.
that, but with Kingdom Hearts. Yeah, but yeah, okay, I take back the Square thing, because I was thinking like I know that every numbered Final Fantasy has a different gameplay, and then the ones that have like subtitles without a number are clearly the spin-offs, like Crystal Chronicles, Tactics, whatever. But I didn't realize that they were starting to mix and match the numbers once they got over 10 and make it even with subtitles. And all
Well,
that.
like
So
I
take
said,
it back. Nintendo,
11
you're still doing better.
11 was the MMO, and then 12 was like a single player MMO.
Right.
Ignoring
Then
the
13 was its own thing, and then 15 is just straight up an action game.
I wonder if we're ever gonna get a real Kingdom Hearts, because they've been like Square Enix has given us spin-offs. We got 358 over 2 whatever on the DS, and like now we have the rhythm one on Switch.
Let's not even get
and we
into
have Chain of
how
Memories.
integral 358 over 2 days is to the overall story. Kingdom Hearts
Every
has
Chain
no
of Memories on the Game Boy
Kingdom
Advance,
Hearts
too.
has no spin-offs. Kingdom Hearts is it's just Kingdom Hearts. There are no spin-offs.
Let me rephrase. I
If,
wonder if we're gonna get a. I don't even know how to rephrase it. I guess there's no way to rephrase
The last
it.
one that
I guess
the,
we are
the
gonna-
last proper Kingdom Hearts game that Nintendo got was Dream Drop
by Sleep?
Distance on 3DS.
Oh wait, that's the PS
right,
Vita one.
right, because 3D
And
has
that
Dream
one
Drop Distance.
and that one was very integral to the story, and I did not play that one. So imagine my confusion when these little monsters are running around. Oh god, I hate Kingdom Hearts so much.
If
And yet you keep playing. Are you gonna get? So you are gonna get the rhythm game?
Oh, absolutely.
so if you ignore
Melody of
the
Memories.
compilations they've released on the PS4 and I'm assuming other consoles except the Switch, how many devices minimum would you have to own in order to have played everything up to that point?
Okay, PS2, Game Boy,
Game Boy Advance.
DS.
I'm like not Game Boy.
Yeah. Game Boy Advance.
Yeah, GBA.
DS, 3DS, PSP. The Vita didn't get one. A Japanese only mobile. Well, I guess they remade that one into coded on the 3DS, recoded into the 3DS. PS4 because the PS3 didn't get any Kingdom Hearts games. I think that's it. So minimum 6 or 7.
Yeah, 7.
Oh, and then the smartphone, so 8.
That's quite a lot. Usually, you would just. It is interesting that you have to like jump like platforms, like not even just like consoles to handhelds, but just like if you were just a Nintendo fan that also happened to be a huge Kingdom Hearts fan, you're literally missing like
sucks to be you.
Yeah, or vice versa. Like if you were like, oh, I mean, Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2 were on the PS2, like why would I ever need to buy another like console manufacturer? And
oh, you'd be wrong.
Yeah, like
well, just wait. Is the show going to be canon?
Like
they're doing a show, like a Disney Plus show.
What?
Kingdom Hearts, we were talking earlier about all these games being turned into shows. Kingdom Hearts is supposedly getting a Disney Plus show.
Wait, hold
Unclear
on.
if it's live action or animated.
There was a canceled pilot that was supposed to come out around the time of Kingdom Hearts 2.
No, so there's like Disney Plus is working on it.
So I'm wondering if they maybe like pick that back up.
Maybe. Because Disney Plus needs content because they had to like pump the brakes on everything due to COVID. So they're looking wherever they can. Under every rock.
Watch it not even be like a retelling of the whole story to clear things up.
Just it's just like
some extra stuff. It follows some other character, then it'll tie into the next game.
Knowing everything Kevin just said, probably.
Yeah.
Oh.
He found it. He clearly just found it.
Are there any novels or any like? There's Kingdom Hearts the stage play that also has some core lore.
That's another one, by the way. Another thing
I wouldn't be surprised if the live orchestras that they do are somehow canon.
Only you people that attended will know what this symbol means when you
what
play
this
the game.
character
Also,
shows up in Kingdom Hearts 5 divided by 2xx3.
The musical.
Yeah.
But yeah, also, speaking of things being converted in shows, it's been announced by the time this episode goes live. The World Ends With You is getting an anime as well.
Yeah, The World Ends With You. Oh, spoilers for Kingdom Hearts 3. Skip ahead a minute. At the end of Kingdom Hearts 3, and ends up in the world in Tokyo from The World Ends With You. And spoiler.
Wait, is that
what?
Is that
wait. So The World Ends With You is now canon, and the anime that they're announcing by the time this is live is now canon?
Why the main character
Probably.
Is that why the main character from The World Ends With You appears in Empress in Dream Drop Distance?
I have no idea. They haven't explained that part.
Whoa, that's a
he's in one of those Kingdom Hearts games as a player.
Yeah. He's in Dream Drop Distance.
So Square Enix is just going full MCU now, huh?
Damn.
Oh man,
the art style is similar-ish. I guess that makes sense. But
well, I think Tetsuya Nomura drew The World Ends With You, or I think he was the director of The World Ends With You.
There's a lot of crossover on the teams between the two, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah.
Damn.
Wow. I'm. Wow. So Kingdom Hearts is actually okay. Interesting. I don't know where to take the show from here. We might just have to stop there. Yeah, avoid it like the
If you've avoided it for this long, you can go on the rest of your life without knowing about Kingdom Hearts. Or else you'll be stuck in a cycle of pain and misery like I am whenever they bring out a new game. I have to rewatch a 2-hour primer every single time the new game comes out. I'm done with this podcast.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, it works out because we're also done. Unless there's anything else or more rants to go through, I think we've hit all the things we're going to talk about today. Anyone have a last minute thing?
You can pre-order Metroid Prime 4 right now on Best Buy.
You can, and I guarantee you have no idea what it's going to be like, because no one does, because who knows what Tanabe's going to do. He's a producer, too.
Soon. Oh, god damn it.
He produced Metroid Prime 1, 2, and 3 as well, though, so don't be too disappointed.
Well, producer, I feel like we're giving the producer... I mean, it does deserve a lot of credit, but it doesn't really have a lot of creative credit. It's more of like, all right, we have to cut this because we don't have time to it. So he has more control over what they cut and what they have to add, I guess.
When Nintendo... sort of. When Nintendo does producers with outside studios, they're the advisor representing Nintendo, and then the director is someone in the outside studio. So if he says, then that's that.
That's true. I guess it is. Yeah, that would be different.
So, we'll see. I mean, 2023, when Metroid Prime 4 comes out, we'll see. Or 2026, or whenever it is. But in the meantime, unless there's anything else, I think I'm just going to wrap this thing. I mean, Kevin already rage quit over Kingdom Hearts. I don't know where he went. But our next episode, when Kevin returns from his Kingdom Hearts Vision Quest, will be on July 19th. It'll be on July 19th, and it should have some good stuff. Among other things, Ubisoft's big summer presentation will be happening in the days leading up to it. There's probably another wave of Summer Game Fest news, and of course, whatever we've been playing. I am excited to check out, or I've been checking out, Liberated, that kind of noir comic book game, so I'm going to be having impressions of that at the very least. I don't know about you guys.
Doesn't Paper Mario come out on the 17th?
It does, but I mean, if you can play it that quick, more power to you.
I mean,
right.
But if not, we'll talk.
Ghost of Tsushima also comes out that day. All right, sorry, Paper Mario.
See, so we'll say Paper Mario, but we'll have plenty. So to make sure you don't miss it, you can follow us on Twitter at Random Nintendo, where we will tweet it out. You can subscribe to us on all the podcast apps under the sun: Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Pandora. We are on YouTube. Our channel is RoundNintendo.com. We are individually on the Twitters. I am JSR7. Angel is Wero, WEIRO_O. Kevin is KVN Gomi, where I really hope, Kevin, you should like live tweet all your Kingdom Hearts feelings every time you have to watch those 2-hour primers. It'd be very amusing for at least me as you go through that pain. Yeah, it sounds like it's not going to happen. Okay, so that does it. Kevin, you do have final words, so I'm going to pass it to you.
Don't get into Kingdom Hearts. Save yourself.